genetic or learned or has lost their vision. And in our third hour, we're going to interview you. Ready for it?
George, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to it. Coast to Coast has been very important to me for almost 5 years now. And thank you for this opportunity on Friday.
Okay, we'll talk to you then. We'll be talking to him, Doc.
Yeah, he has a great story.
Lost his vision. I've always been fascinated by people who have lost their sense of smell, or hearing, or eyesight. How they get through with life. They've got more strength than I'll ever have in my life.
Yeah, well, here's one thing, George. I worked my way through veterinary school, working in the autopsy room in the pathology department for humans and animals. I would see all these bodies, they would have osteoporosis of the skull. Then I'd look at the clinical records, treatments, and none of the doctors ever said anything about clinical treatments of osteoporosis of the skull. And so as I started doing research, and they don't teach anything about osteoporosis of the skull in medical schools. And so that's why I came out with a book, It's All in Your Head. It became a bestseller overnight because so many people have all the symptoms. It's like 50 different diseases you can get just from osteoporosis of the skull. None of it's genetic.
Back to the phones. Peter in Virginia. Take it away, Peter. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, George, Tom? Yes, sir. I'm calling to your full man. I have been myself long, 45-year cancer survivor. I got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and a weak heart. My family had a weak heart.
How's your heart?
I'm taking vitamin D, I'm taking supplement vitamins and everything else to keep my heart strong. I've been walking every day, 3 miles a day. How much you weigh, sir? I weigh.
What's your weight? Well, we've lost him, Doc. What can you give him for advice?
Okay, well, again, for 100 pounds of body weight, people, regardless of what they have or don't have, they need 1,000 rated heart attack a month. That's our big hammer. It has most nutrients in it.
Following this conversation with Joe
And if you weigh more than 150 pounds, you need to have 2
Rogan
rated heart attacks a month.
that we recorded after my recent appearance on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. Joe has been an inspiration to me, and I think to millions of people, for just being somebody who puts love out there in the world and being genuinely curious about wild ideas, from chimps and psychedelics to quantum mechanics and artificial intelligence. Like many of you, I've been a fan of his podcast for over a decade, and now, somehow, miraculously, I'm humbled to be able to call him a friend. If you enjoy this thing, subscribe on YouTube, review it with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, follow on Spotify, support on Patreon, or connect with me on Twitter at Lex Friedman. Today's sponsors are Neuro, A-Sleep, Dollar Shave Club, and Olive Garden, home of the unlimited breadsticks from Brian Redband's favorite restaurant. Check out the first 3 of the sponsors in the description to get a discount and to support this podcast. I usually do full ad reads here, never ads in the middle, but this time I just go straight to the conversation with a bit of guitar first. Do you ponder your mortality? Are you afraid of death?
I do think about it sometimes. I mean, it does pop into my head sometimes. Just the fact that, I'm 53, so if everything goes great, I have less than 50 years left. You know, if everything goes great, like no car accidents, no injuries.
But it could happen today. This could be your last day.
Could be.
That's kind of a stoic thing to meditate on death. There's a bunch of philosophers, Ernest Becker and Sheldon Solomon. They believe that death is the the core of everything. What is book born at the core? So does that come to play in the way you see the world?
I think having a sense of urgency is very beneficial, and understanding that your time is limited can aid you greatly. I think knowing that this is a temporary time, that we have finite lifespans, I think there's great power in that, because it motivates you, it gets you going. I think being an immortal, living forever, would be one of the most depressing things, particularly if everybody else was dying around you. And I think one of the things that makes life so interesting and fascinating is that it doesn't last. You know, that you really get a brief amount of time here, and really by the time you're just starting to kind of figure yourself out, who you are, and how not to screw things up so bad, time's up.
The ride's over. What about from your daughter's perspective? Do you think about the world we're in now, and what kind of world you're going to leave them?
I do.
Do you worry about it?
I do. Yeah, I do. I do when I see these protests and riots and chaos and so much anger in the world today. And then particularly today, I think because of the pandemic and the fact that so many folks are out of work and through no fault of their own and can't make ends meet, and these people feel so helpless and angry. It's a particularly divisive time. It's a particularly turmoil-filled time, and it just doesn't seem like the world of a year ago even. It feels very chaotic and dangerous. And it's a small thing, like in terms of the possibilities of things that could happen to the world, like a pandemic, like the one we've experienced. It really just doubles the amount of deaths on a bad flu year. So it, relatively speaking, is a small thing in comparison to super volcano eruptions, asteroid impact, a real horrific pandemic, or one that really wipes out millions and millions of people. It's stunning how fragile civility is. It's stunning how fragile our society really is. That something like this can come along, some unprecedented thing can come along, and all of a sudden everybody's out of work for 6 months. And then everybody's at each other's throats. And then politically, everyone's at each other's throats. And then with the advent of social media and the images that you can see, videos of police abuse and just racial tensions are at an all-time high. To a point where, like, if you asked me just 5 or 6 years ago, like, have racial problems in this country largely been alleviated, I'd probably say, yeah, it's way better. That's how we feel. But now you could argue that it's not. Now you could argue it's way worse in just a small amount of time. Way worse than it's ever been during my lifetime, while I'm aware of it. Obviously when I was a young boy in the 60s, they were still going through the civil rights movement. But now it just seems very fever-pitched. And I think a lot of that is because of the pandemic and is because of all the heightened just tension. What I liken it to is road rage. Because, people have road rage, not just because they're in their car and no one can get to them, but also because you're in a heightened state because you're driving fast. And you're driving fast. You have to make split-second movements. And so anybody doing something like, what the? People go crazy because they're already at an 8 because they're in the car and they're moving very quickly. That's what it feels like with today, with the pandemic. It feels like everybody is already at an 8. So anything that comes along is like, light it all on fire. Burn it down. Like, that's part of what I think is part of the reason for a lot of the looting, the riots, and all the chaos. It's not just the people out of work, but it's also that everyone feels so tense already, and everyone feels so helpless. And it's like, doing something like that makes people, it gives people a whole new motivation for chaos, a whole new motivation for doing destructive things that I've never experienced in my life.
In your better days, when you see a positive future, what do you think is the way out of this chaos of 2020? Like, if you visualize in 2025, that's a better world than today. What's that? How do you get there?
It's a good question. I can honestly say I don't know. And I wouldn't have said I don't know a year ago. A year ago, I would have said we're going to be okay. As much as people hate Trump, the economy's doing great. I think we're going to be fine. That's not how I feel today. Today, I don't think there's a clear solution politically, because I think if Trump wins, people are going to be furious. And I think if Biden wins, people are going to be furious. Particularly like if things get more woke, if people continue to enforce this forced compliance and make people behave a certain way and act a certain way, which seems to be a part of what this whole woke thing is the most disturbing for me, is that I see what's going on. I see there's a lot of losers that have hopped on this, and they shove it in people's faces, and it doesn't have to make sense. Like, there was a Black Lives Matter protest that stopped this woman at a restaurant. They were surrounding her outside a restaurant. They were forcing her to raise her fist in compliance. This is a woman who's marched for Black Lives multiple times, but Black Lives Matter multiple times, and the people all around her doing this were all white. It's all weird. My friend Coach T, he's a wrestling coach, he's also on a podcast. My friend Brian Moses, his take on it is that he's a black guy. Black Lives Matter is a white cult. And I'm like, when you see that picture, it's hard to argue that he's got a point. It's clearly not all about that, but there's a lot of people that have jumped on board that are very much like cult members. Because the thing about Black Lives Matter or any movement is you can't control who joins. There's no entrance examination. So you don't go, okay, how do you feel about this? What's your perceptions on that? Like the man who shot the Trump supporter in Portland, that guy who murdered the Trump supporter and the cop shot him. That guy was walking around with his hand on his gun looking for Trump supporters. He's a known violent guy who was walking around looking for Trump supporters, found him and shot him. That has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. He's a white guy, he shot another white guy. It's just madness, and that kind of madness is, it's disturbing to see it ramp up so quickly. I mean, there's been riots in Portland every night. Demonstrations for 101 days now. 101 days in a row of them lighting things on fire, breaking into federal buildings. It's like who ever saw that coming? Nobody saw that coming. So, I don't know what the solution is, and I don't know what it looks like in 5 years. So 2025, to answer your question, it could be anything. I mean, we could be looking at Mad Max. We could be looking at the apocalypse. We could also be looking at an invasion to another country. We could be looking at a war, like a real hot war.
To put a little bit of responsibility on you, like for me, I've listened to you since the Red Band and Olive Garden days, since the very beginning, and there was something in the way you communicate about the world. Maybe there was others, but you were the one I was aware of. Is you're open-minded and loving towards the world, especially as the podcast developed. Like, you just demonstrated and lived this kind of just kindness, or maybe even like lack of jealousy in your own little profession of comedy. It was clear that you didn't succumb to the weaker aspects of human nature, and thereby inspired people like me, who I was naturally, probably especially like the 20s, early 20s, kind of jealous of the success of others. And you're really the primary person that taught me to truly celebrate the success of others. And so, by way of question, you kind of have a role in this of making it better 2025. Yes, it's your big megaphone. Is there something you think you can do on this podcast with the words, the way you talk, the things you discuss that could create a better 2025?
I think if anything, I could help in leading by example, but that's only going to help people that are listening. I don't know what else I can do in terms of make the world a better place, other than express my hopes and wishes for that, and just try to be as nice as I can to people as often as I can. But I also think that I've fallen into this weird category, particularly with the Spotify deal, where I'm one of them now. I'm not a regular person anymore. Now I'm like some famous rich guy. So you go from being a regular person to a famous rich guy that's out of touch. And that's a real issue whenever you're talking about the economy, about just real life problems.
It's interesting. It kind of hurts my heart to hear people say, well, Elon Musk, he's just a billionaire.
Yeah.
It's an interesting statement. But I think if you just continue being you and he continue being him, I think people are just voicing their worry you become some rich guy.
I don't even know if they're doing that. I think they're just finding, the way he describes it, an attack vector. Yeah, and I think he's right. I think they just they could dismiss you by just saying, "Oh, you're just a that." You're easily definable.
Right. But there's truth to that. If you're not careful, you can become out of touch. But that's an interesting thing. Like, why haven't we become out of touch? Like, as a human off the podcast, you don't act like you talk to somebody like me. You don't talk like a famous person, or you don't act rich. Like you're better than others. There's a certain. Listen, I've talked to quite a few. You have too, but I've talked to especially kind of group of people that are like Nobel Prize winners. Let's say they sometimes have an air to them that's of arrogance, and you don't. What's that about?
Well, you gotta know what that is, right? Like that air of arrogance comes from drinking your own Kool-Aid. You start believing that somehow or another, just because you're getting praise from all these people, that you really are something different. Usually, it exemplifies. There's something there. There's a lack of struggle, and I think struggle is probably one of the most important balancing tools that a person can have. And for me, I struggle mentally and I struggle physically. I struggle mentally in that we were talking about on the podcast we did previously. You and I on my podcast, that I'm not a fan of my work. I'm not a fan of what I do. I'm my harshest critic. So anytime anybody says something bad about me, I'm like, listen, I said way worse about myself. I don't like anything I do. I'm ruthlessly introspective, and I will continue to be that way, because that's the only way to be good as a comedian. There's no other way. You can't just think you're awesome and just go out there. You have to be like picking apart everything you do. But there's a balance to that too, because you have to have enough confidence to go out there and perform. You can't think, oh my God, I suck. I know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing because I put in all that work. And one of the reasons why I put in all that work is I don't like the end result most of the time. So I need to work at it all the time. And then there's physical struggle, which I think balances everything out. Without physical struggle, I would just make the analogy that the body is in a lot of ways like a battery, where if you have extra charge, it's like it leaks out of the top, and it becomes unmanageable and messy. And that's how my psyche is. If I have too much energy, if I'm not exerting myself in a violent way, it's like an explosive way, wearing myself out, I just don't like the way the world is. I don't like the way I interface with the world. I'm too tense. I'm too quick to be upset about things. But when I work out hard and I put in a brutal training session, everything's fine.
Well, the first time I talked to Jerry, you were doing Sober October, and there was something in your eyes. I think you talked about that you exercise the demons out, essentially. So you exercise to get whatever is inside of you that you don't like out. There's a darkness.
Are you sick, Rabbi?
No, I'm not sick. It's really early in the morning.
That was a scary time in a lot of ways, that Sober October thing. Because my friends were all talking shit, right?
No, I feel fine.
Competing against each other in these fitness challenges, and you had 1 point for, like, you got a certain amount of points for each minute that you went at 80% of your max heart rate. And one day I got 1,100 points. So I did 7 hours on an elliptical machine watching the bathhouse scenes of John Wick, where he murders all the people in the bath. I watched it like 50 times in a row. I went crazy, but I went crazy in a weird way where it brought me back to my fighting day. It was like the same that was,
Are you okay?
I didn't even know he was in there.
What are your hobbies,
there,
Billy?
like an assassin, like a killer. Like I felt like a different person.
It echoes of like what Mike Tyson talked about, essentially like the
Maybe put that
Yeah,
word
hobbies.
out to emotion.
Silly,
Fucking crazy.
yes,
is there that violence in there?
There's a lot of violence in it for sure. I don't know if it's genetic or learned or
Here's the thing.
it's because
It
during
may
that
not look
formative
like
year,
I'm working right now,
but
I have 4 robots.
I've
That
been
was all I
good.
did.
I
That
make
was all I
music.
did. All I did was train.
So I have 4 robots that are going right now. It may not look like I'm doing anything, but I know that these 4 robots are going,
Silly,
and I have
I'm
in
sure it's
terms
connected
of
to
the
him.
game
Also,
plan,
because he's
remember
fine
that
and he's
time
very
when you
scared
got
to be around
spam
him.
keep
But I
Wendy
also
and Ross
think
was
it's
watching you?
connected in who he was as a human. His transfer.
no, I don't remember that. Aiden Ross is
I
watching
think
me.
there's a certain amount of, I mean, to be prejudiced against myself, I look like a violent person. And if I didn't know me, and just even the way I'm built, not even just the working out, but just the size of my hands and like there's the width of my shoulders.
Aiden
Like,
Ross
there's
was watching me.
most likely a lot
I
of violence
honestly
in
don't
my
remember
history,
that.
in my past, in my ancestry. And I think I think we minimize that with people. So much of your behavior, like when I see my daughter, I have one daughter that's obsessive.
He did about a week ago.
She
Oh, no way.
practices things all day long. And it's
And that's what a bunch of people came in?
Like she's me in female form, but without the anger as much, and
Okay, I
without
can
the
see that.
fear, like she's loving household and everything like that.
No, but that's
She
good
has
to
this
know. So he knows about
Intense
me.
obsession with
All right,
doing
well,
things,
good.
doing
I
things
was
really
living-
well.
I was living in his
With
Discord.
we have to tell her
I
stop
left.
doing hands.
The only reason I left
Stop,
is so that I
stop,
could dedicate the
sit down.
computer to being a full-time robot.
Like she's just like she's psycho. And I think there's
That's good to know.
a lot
I
of
appreciate that, really.
behavior
Okay,
and
do you know who
personality,
Ashton
and a
is?
lot of these things are passed
She
down.
spells his name like
We don't really know,
AC7ION.
We don't know how much
M-A-N.
of who you
He's
are
big on kids. He
genetically
was streaming last
is
night.
learned behavior,
yesterday,
nature and nurture. We don't
Well, I
know.
didn't talk to him.
Learned
I
behavior,
talked to someone
whether
on
or
the
not
stream.
something that's intrinsically a
And,
part of you because
Mike
of
Smalls,
your
who's
parents.
also a creator.
I think there's
He hung up on me.
certainly
but-
some genetic violence in me.
It wasn't anything that I did wrong.
Yeah,
I just spammed my telephone number in that stream enough so
yes. Try how to figure out
That's when
how
a
to
bunch of people
get that
came
monkey
in
to
and
sit
you were
down.
acting up and showing your credit card and stuff and everyone stayed for like an hour. I think we see you were
friendly
going
person who
while
just wants to laugh.
everyone stayed for
And
longer.
there's that dude
okay, that's when that was.
who
Oh,
comes
okay,
out
very cool.
when I did so much.
I
That guy's scary. I don't like this.
um
That guy just wants to get up in the morning and go.
along those lines.
It's
Okay, so
I mean, when I was competing, it was necessary. It makes me remember. I didn't really
actually,
remember what
So
what I used to be
I'm
like.
spaming my
Until
telephone number
that, it's like when I'm working out
the chat
7 hours a
yesterday,
day,
and
it
the
is
chat
so
numbers
obsessed. And all I was thinking about was winning. That's all I was thinking about.
So I
Like,
picked,
they were working out 5 hours.
I don't know, 10
I
calls or so.
wanted them to know.
A lot of them just hung up, some of
3
them
hours.
talked,
I was gonna get it.
but one of them was with Action Man's group, and that's good.
I'm up already
That
taking
means you're
pictures.
talking about it.
He's- I was like, you're gonna die. I kept telling me, you're all gonna
And
die.
it's just a matter of time before this blows up.
No, it wasn't a joke.
I got 4 robots going
It's the scary thing when I interacted with Goggins and when I
Yeah.
saw you during that
I
time,
know
it's like, this
that may
guy,
not sound like a lot,
like,
but
this
it
is
is.
why I've been avoiding you.
Making impressions on people. And the
It's
more
like, because he
impressions you
wants to
make,
be, he wants to do, like, talk on
the
the
more
podcast, but he also
associated
wants
with
to go on
you,
ultramarathon with
these
me. And I feel
influences
like
become.
this person, if
For
I spend
instance,
any time
there's
with
something
Brown, if
known
I
as the
spend any
mere
time with Joe
exposure
that
effect,
of October,
which is when the
I
more
might have to die to get out.
you just see a
Like, there's just
brand
kind of,
or are around
There's
a
a
person,
competitive
the
aspect
more you
to
like
run
them.
out there. I mean,
Well,
I
I'm
saw
just
the
doing the
videos
same thing.
watched earlier today of Goggins.
And while I may
training.
be annoying
That
people,
would stop me from running ever again. Because I would think
slowly
in my head,
but
okay,
surely,
I'm gonna ruin
they're
my progress.
becoming
I'm gonna need a knee
close
replacement.
to me.
I would start thinking, I would go down that line. But he is perpetually in this push it mindset. you know, what he calls the dog in him. You know, he's got that dog is in him all day long. He feeds that dog, you know, and that's who he is. That's one of the reasons why he's so inspirational, and he's fuel for millions and millions of people. I mean, he really is. He motivates people in a way that is so powerful.
Yet getting new viewers isn't a problem with the robots. Retaining viewers is what I think we can
especially
bring
after the
to a
Soviet
lot.
October thing. That thing's still.
Well,
You know, I didn't know.
I can tell you that all streams, they go 24 hours, suffer from
Came out then too. That came out too.
viewer retention because it's really hard to keep people captivated all the time.
Training
I mean,
twice a day.
that's why I play podcasts and stuff. Like, even if I'm not doing something that's entertaining, hopefully you're learning something or the viewers
all day
learning
long. And
something.
if it fucks with all the other aspects of your life, fucks with your friendships, fucks with your fucks with my comedy, fucks with everything. Because that mindset is not a mindset of an artist. It's a mindset of a conqueror. Yeah.
Destroyer. That's why it's so interesting to see Mike Tyson make the switch. It's clear that like whatever that is, however that fight goes, there's a switch. He stepped into a different dimension.
Roy Jones Jr. is coming on my podcast soon, and you know, Roy's going to be on before the fight. I'm so curious to see how it goes down, but genuinely concerned. Because Mike Tyson is a heavyweight, and Roy Jones at his best was 168 pounds. And that's
I don't know if Roy has that room in his house, mental house, of where Mike Tyson goes.
Mike doesn't have a room. He's got an empire in there. He opens up the door. He opens up the door. There's a whole empire in his head, and he's in that firmly. He got out of the weed and started training again. Like you could see it and by the way, physically in person, he looks spectacular. He looks like a fucking Adonis. I mean, he looks ready to go. It's crazy.
Yeah, I watch videos. And what about you? Have you ever considered competing in jiu-jitsu?
No, for that very reason. I don't want to get obsessed. That's my number one concern. I had to quit video games. When we were playing video games in the studio, I had to quit. Because I was playing 5 hours a day, like out of nowhere. All of a sudden, I was playing 5 hours a day. I was coming home late for dinner. I was ending podcasts early, jumping on the video games, playing. I get obsessed with things, and I have to recognize what that is. And these competitive things, like competitive, especially like really exciting competitive things like video games, they're very dangerous for me. The ultimate competitive video game is like jiu-jitsu. And if I was young, I most certainly would have done it. If I didn't have like a very clear career path, it was something that I enjoyed. My concern would be that I would become a professional jiu-jitsu fighter when I was young, and then I would not have the energy to do stand-up and do all the other things that I want to do as a career. When I was 21, I quit my job teaching. I was teaching at Boston University. I was teaching Taekwondo there, and I knew, and I also had my own school in Revere. I knew I couldn't do it right, and also be doing stand-up comedy. I knew I couldn't do both of those things. There was no way.
You have to be cognizant of that obsessive force within you to make sure.
Yes, I have to know how to manage my mental illness. That's a very particular mental illness, and I think that mental illness, again, my formative years, from 15 until I was, 21-ish, 22, those years were spent constantly obsessed with martial arts. That was my whole day. I mean, I trained almost every day. The only time I would not train is if I was either injured or if I was exhausted, if I needed a day off. But I was obsessed. And so that part of my personality that I haven't nurtured is always going to be there under the surface. And when it gets reignited by something, it's very weird. It's a weird feeling. And it can get reignited with a video game. You can get reignited with anything. That obsessive, whatever it is, like competitive
during the
And when
day.
you talk about guitar, I know you
that's not
fall in love with playing guitar, but I think you're very wise to not touch that thing.
Throw and golf.
The things that I like to do is sing
My friends want
karaoke,
to golf and
or dance a little.
I
I really like talking about the future.
So a lot of people ask me,
And-
like, what's enjoy
like
this jiu-jitsu game like
discussions of
like assuming that I
Well,
somehow spend hours
yeah.
rolling with you before and after.
once people
I
see
mean,
how
what's a
much
good,
content
you
that
should
I
at some
have,
point show a technique.
it's just incredible.
Sure.
I'm sure
I've
you've
got-
seen,
What's your game?
but have you seen all of my social media,
you doing.
all of my Instagram? Like, I'm streaming
Yeah,
on Instagram
I
right
did.
now.
I fucked my neck up doing head and arm chokes. I did them so much that
Have you seen on my
because
TikTok?
you use your neck so much with head and arm chokes. I developed like a real kink in my neck, and it turned out I had a bulging disc. And
Can you do it on that, just one side?
well, it was no, I could do it on the left side, but it definitely better on the right side. The right side was my best side.
So if you were to compete, let's say, what's your A game? What would you go from standing up? How would you go into submission? Would you pull guard? Would you take down?
So,
Or how would you have
one thing that I did,
I don't have good takedowns.
and then I
was
should
not good.
continue,
So
but
I would
I
most likely
recorded
either pull guard
last
or
year,
pull half guard.
like
Do you have
a
a good
ton
guard?
of
Are you
different songs
comfortable being on your
that are
Yeah.
just available.
Yes,
And-
I'm very flexible. So I've got
So when I
my
have
rubber
people,
guard is pretty good.
those are cool things to watch
I have good arm bars,
and
good triangles
to
on
do
the back.
as well.
I also have a very good half guard, but my
Those are
top
the
game
things
is
that I
my
do.
best. I
I had somebody ask me, Rabbi,
Do you
what
have a
do
half
you
guard? Do you have a preference?
I don't
Like,
know.
what
It's
kind of
just-
guard and how to
do?
pass
Especially
that
now
guard?
with my phone that I just broke
Like, yeah, like,
basically.
is there a specific game plan?
My, I've had one
double
video
underhooks from
and
half
it's really
guard.
limited.
For
I
me,
can
if
shoot
I
for
get
like
double underhooks from half guard,
30
I can
minutes,
sweep a
a
lot.
month.
Underhooks.
I mean,
what?
it's
Sorry,
not,
the arms or
So
the
half
Yeah,
guard,
I mean,
lockdown.
it says
When I
it's
go half
unlimited,
guard,
but
go
it's
lockdown,
really, it's like a free play.
got clinched to the body,
And
sucked
it's
the body
ending
with
tight.
pressure. and
So I don't know
massive
what I'm really
pressure,
gonna do
and
about data
inch my way
for the
into
field
the position
when I-
we call the
when I go
dog fight.
outside.
It's inch my way into
But,
position.
at
Get
least in the
the
meantime,
Yeah, that's what, because he did show me,
This
I
phone
still
is-
disagree with you about the tie thing.
it's on its last
Joe
leg,
Tyson
it's not-
was so wrong.
it was doing absolutely
Well, it's
fine.
not wrong with you.
But
With you,
I
it's
just
wrong.
got
It's
it
you.
and-
No, I think there's a system, I've this thing down
But,
there, I haven't figured out. Okay,
So that
But,
impedes me from going outside and doing things like that.
so see, that's, you're just not cheating, you're the exact.
What I can do here, I mean,
Yeah, you did, I did feel when you showed me, I think you showed
I
me
will
the
do
rubber
anything
guard.
that, for the reason
Yeah,
that
so
someone wants me to do,
I just felt
if that's what
that
they
you can
want.
immediately feel,
But
not with the rubber guards, but when you move your body is,
Watching
you're,
the
like a Shanji type of
podcast
guy
learning.
who knows how to control another human being. So like, some people are a little bit more, I would say, agile and playful
So
and
what's
kind
my
of
plan?
loose
Ah,
and they work on
something that I
transition.
can do is
You're a
but
control
also,
guy, like you know how to control
perhaps
position
put my
and then
telephone
fast
number
position.
in
Donnerhar's the
the
same way, he's all about
chat.
control.
My name
because
is
people
swoosh.
call it and then I get to tell them about myself.
Grab a hold of you, once I have you,
Can
I'll
you
let you go.
dance to
That's
this?
my thought, is like,
Play
I'll
it
let
on
you
the
go. I
big
just wanna
screen,
incrementally move to a better position. But I'm much more into strengthening people than
www.youtube.com/watch
It's a great MMA, approach for jiu-jitsu.
Well, too many people don't
Okay,
have
I'm not
either
doing that right
arms.
now.
You know, and it's not that
I
I'm not
will,
opposed to
but I
arm
mean-
bars, I love arm bars, but
That's for another
everybody
time.
goes to
You
sleep.
know, you're like, well, I want you to dance right now.
And
I
quit
understand,
from
but
pressure too, I mean,
Yeah,
quit
that's a lot of
mentally.
work. I gotta take that one
There's
and then I
nothing
gotta
I can't
put it
read.
into that
you know,
computer.
if you got a guy who's like a really
And
good top end
that,
guy,
that
and he
computer
mounts
is
you,
the most
and I'm a big
difficult
fan of
computer
mounting
for me to
with my
get
legs
to,
crossed,
for
like
me to
guard,
use.
like a
And
top
it
guard.
also is,
And
it's
so
really
like I
difficult
can
because the battery
squeeze with
exploded.
both legs.
I know, I have all these
Smush.
technical issues, but
And I'm
the
just
battery
looking for
exploded in it,
people
so
to make mistakes
move
and
the keyboard up.
slowly,
Not
incrementally
saying it's
better
not
my position.
possible,
until
and I'm
I
not
get
saying I
something
won't do it, I
down.
just don't wanna do it.
I love jiu-jitsu though, man. I wish it
To
didn't
be
injure.
very honest with
Yeah.
you.
You know, jiu-jitsu is like,
Anything you want me
if
to
your
do,
joints
talk,
were more
I'll
durable,
talk,
they could figure out a
but
way to
I'm
make
not
it
gonna
Silly,
change
you
it.
said. You'll send it on the
Yeah.
other computer.
Yeah, no,
I
understand.
talked to this,
We can do that.
roboticist who builds, one of the world-class people that builds humanoid robots. You were interested in Boston Dynamics, you find the key people in that kind of robotics. So I asked him this
Anything
stupid
you wanna
question,
talk
like,
about, I'll
how
talk
far
about.
are we from,
Tell me, what do you
having
wanna
a
talk about?
robot be a UFC champion?
I have
And,
a question.
yeah, it's actually a really, really tough problem. It's the same thing that, you know,
What?
makes somebody like Daniel for me, like, on the wrestling side special, because you have to understand the movement of the human body in ways that's so difficult to teach. It's so
This
subtle,
afternoon,
shiny, the pressure points, like the leverage, all those kinds of things. That's just for the clinch situation.
Oh, whoa.
And then the movement for the
I
striking
don't really know.
is very difficult. As long as you're not allowed as a robot to like use your natural abilities of having a lot more power.
Right, a lot more power and then more durable.
Right.
The human body, like, especially meniscus, like you see the heel hook game.
Believe it or not, I had to check which computer
All those guys wind up
to ensure. Oh, I know what it is.
torched knees. Everyone's
You
got
know about my
torched knees.
Telegram,
Everyone's
right?
knees
It's
are
not my
torn apart.
Telegram, but it's
If
this
you don't grow your
cryptocurrency
meniscus, you know, it's
Telegram.
like one of
Dude,
those
why don't you
joints
join the
where
Telegram?
it goes. It's like,
That was my
those
question.
guys are 28 years old, blowing out knees.
And it's okay if you
I
don't
mean,
want
that's the
to,
ridiculous
because your
question.
voice would be
We're talking
heard,
about cops.
and I understand that.
That's martial arts.
but seriously, do you know? You have to know about it. If you watch me, you know I like interact with people quite regularly.
Judo as well, especially in
those are
cold
people
climate.
from
If you get someone who's got like a heavy winter jacket on.
But I'm not sure if you're aware.
Plus concrete.
How to
It's the worst place to be.
And I was
Heavy
thinking,
winter jacket
like,
with judo
yeah, but I
specialists.
don't like that.
And you're standing up with them. Oh my god.
That's cool too.
But I
but
think
whatever.
grappling, because in most self-defense situations, it usually lines up with grappling. You're definitely better off though knowing some striking, because there's nothing more terrifying than when you go to take someone down. They actually have takedown skills, but they can fight, and so they have takedown defense, and they know how to fight, and then you don't know how to stand up. Like the worst thing in the world is seeing someone like reaching who doesn't know how to do striking, and someone cracks you.
What about all that Krav Maga talk, which is like, you know, the whole line of argument that says that jiu-jitsu and wrestling and all these sports, they fundamentally take you away from the nature of violence. So they're just teaching you how to play versus the reality of violence that is involved in like a self-defense situation that is a totally different set of skills are being needed.
In general, the people that say that jiu-jitsu or other martial arts it's more of a sport and they don't really understand and
Set.
they
Okay,
don't
I
really
am
understand
back
violence.
now.
In general,
Yeah,
people
usually.
say that suck. Yeah, anybody who thinks
You know about my
that
Telegram, right?
Oh, hey man, I'll just bite you. I'm like, are you gonna bite me?
It's not mine, but it's the
Is he
cryptocurrencies.
gonna bite
It's
you too? What do you think of that? If I punch you in your fucking face, you're still gonna bite me when you can't even see, when you barely even know you're alive.
I'm sure you've heard of it. You know, that's how I interact with people
Good luck
generally.
stabbing them with your keys. You know, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. If someone's much better, they trip you and get you on your back, and then they fucking elbow you in your face and get a head and arm choke on you. All that Krav Maga shit's out the window, son. You're way better off learning what works on trained killers. Like this whole idea that you're gonna poke somebody on and then you're gonna kick them in the nuts, and then like you're going through these drills. That, yeah, it's good to know what to do if you run into someone
Yeah,
who
I
doesn't know
know,
how to
but I
fight.
prefer
It's
to
way
talk
better
here.
to know what to do to someone who knows how to fight. That's the best thing. Learn how to fight against people who know how to
I
fight.
think I am
Like,
17
all that
hours
practice
ahead of you, so it will be hard to find you in the afternoon when you are willing to dance.
Self-defense. But it's much more important to understand martial
Oh,
arts
that's what it is.
comprehensively. When you understand martial arts comprehensively, like there's no crowd. I shouldn't say there's no way, guys, but it would be shocking if a Krav Maga guy and a mixed martial arts guy had a fight, and the mixed martial arts guy was a trained killer all around, didn't fuck that guy up. That's what I would expect would happen. I would not think
You
that
like
some
mixed
guy
martial arts?
has a little bit of this and a little bit of that and prepares for the streets is going to be able to handle a person who trains with killers on a day-to-day basis, who rolls with jiu-jitsu black belts, who trains with Muay Thai champions. Like, the best martial arts are the martial arts that work on martial artists, not the martial arts that work on untrained people.
We're in Texas now. What about guns?
So that's the best martial art.
No, but would you, like, in this crazy time, should people carry guns?
It's not a bad idea to have a gun, because if you need a gun, you have a gun. And if you don't need a gun, if you're a person with self-control, you're not going to use it. You're not going to just randomly use it, but you have something to protect you. This is the whole idea of the Second Amendment. The whole idea of the Second Amendment gets distorted by mass shootings or by terrible
No,
people
I
who
don't
murder
like
people and do
fighting
terrible
and
things,
had
but
bad experiences.
all those things are real, but they don't take away from
I was
the
very big into it.
fundamental efficacy of having firearms.
I do understand the science, I like the science of it.
And there are real live situations
It's
where
like
people have had firearms
humanity
and
in a
it's
purest
protected
form.
them, or their loved ones, or they've stopped
And
shooters.
so I've gotten into it a
There's
little
many
bit.
of these stories, but people don't like those
I
stories.
don't like
because
the fact that they hurt each
tends
other.
to lead to this gun culture
I understand that
argument,
it's a
pro-gun
necessity
culture
for the
argument
sport,
that people find
but
very
I'd like to make things safer in it, like, and give them
and we're messy in
Leg
so many
protection.
ways, right? We're messy
and
emotionally, we're messy physically, but
like,
we're also
I
messy
don't know.
in what's
I guess that
good or bad.
changes the sport a
We
little
want things
bit,
to be binary.
but I'd like to
We want things
protect
to be
them a little
right
bit
or
more so
wrong,
guys don't get
one
hurt
or zero. If they're
as
not,
much.
but
Like, I understand that the guys
there
want to
is
hurt each
crime in
other.
the world. There is violence in the world, and you're better off knowing how to fight. And you're
But I would
better
just
off
want to
knowing how to
do a
defend
little
yourself, and you're
more
better off having
safely
a
as
gun.
possible.
I generally think that guns,
So
I
you
do like
say, do you think
the
you
idea
will
that
get
guns
on the
have
Joe
such a right
Rogan
to protect the First
podcast?
Amendment. There's
Yeah, I
a
think the first podcast we'll
sense
do
that
will be
makes
24
me
hours
knowing
long,
that so many
It'll be a
people in this country
sleepover.
have guns,
and
that, I mean,
we'll
that
have some
show
other people there
just
too.
One episode of
I think
Wars
at
for the first
least
time.
Joey
Boy,
Diaz will be
it
there,
reminds me like when I drank some tequila.
and
I felt like I'm in
perhaps
some dark
Segura.
places today. That's how I feel
And
like
it'll be like
listening to him. But
when
he talks about like that it's
I don't know when you were a kid, but like you'd have kids
basically
over
government
and have a
overreach
sleepover.
fight, which happened on
And
the street like
Jamie, of
this.
course, would be there in like sleeping bag,
It
and
puts me at ease
we
knowing
would
that
do
so much of the
shit
population
that we would
has
do
guns,
as kids
government
at a sleepover.
So
So that might be like play video games, but it would be like play
that actually was
old
asking
N64 video games against those guys, and then all this shit for 24 hours.
And
But yeah,
I felt
that's
that
what I
if I
think
carry
it's
a
gonna be.
gun,
And the reason why is like, why is he gonna do 24 hours with you, Rabbi, when he does 4 hours with everybody else?
I feel like I would put myself in situations.
I'm arguably Joe Rogan's biggest fan, and I don't even like him that much. It's just I watch so much of his shit
Late at night.
just because he has so much content, and I have so much content, and I have to fill my content, and he's a great thing to fill with which to fill it. I can put on Joe Rogan and just fucking most people will watch that and be like, all right, what's going on here? It's interesting, or they're familiar with it. It's not like I got some vague teaching up there or something that no one really cares. It's something with which they're familiar. So I think Joe will be like, yeah, there's something to this, that this person has watched like all of my video content, almost, not all of it, or listened to my podcast, almost, not all of it, like all of them, over the course of several years. And I'm gonna be able to go back and watch their reaction on all of this.
Yes,
This is really, really
That's a different
neat.
situation, and much harder to get a warrant
How
or
will you
a
convince
license.
Joe Rogan to fly out to your
Concealed
house
carry
and
license,
stream for
especially in
24
Massachusetts.
hours
There
with
come
you
days
and
where
also bring Joey Diaz?
Yeah.
No, I'll go to,
Level up to level 4.
yeah,
I know
nice
he's
job,
done
Joe.
it.
No, I'll go to Austin
Many hours.
and we'll
Learning
stream
how to shoot a gun.
at his place.
You know,
And
videos of me doing it on.
it'll be
Instagram.
pretty easy. So Joey Diaz is already moving to Austin, and Tom Segura lives in Austin. And all we need to do is go to Walmart or Target or some kind of like supply place and get food for 24 hours. So we'll get like, we'll get like,
Almost too many of them to count.
I don't know, I just want to
Yeah,
go to market and get
all of them.
burgers
Elon Musk,
and then get,
flamethrower in the middle of the hallway. The
we can
video
get
of that.
kosher hot
Have you
dogs.
seen the video of it?
Yeah, I think it was fun.
I think I did too. Yeah, he's
Have-
in there. Having Bernie Sanders in there, you know, just all the fun
We
fight
could get,
companions we did, and
frozen
all the
kosher
crazy
pizza, a ton
contrasts.
of them.
Joey Diaz,
so we just have a
Donald
ton of
Trump.
food,
There were
and
so
then,
many. There were so many moments. You know,
probably
it's,
beers.
podcasts
Even though I don't drink,
this
I
is
would
weird
for that kind of an event.
It almost
And,
sounds silly, but also
we'd have to
seems
get
like
an
something I chose me
N64,
rather than I chose
which I'm
it.
sure we'd be able to
Think
get
of that
one.
all the time.
We'll have Red
It's
Band
like,
work on that. He's in
I'm
Austin
showing
as
up
well.
as like an
And
antenna, and I just
then
plug in and
It would just be
twist on,
like a
and then
marathon.
I take
And I
in
think Joe would
the thing
understand
and
that,
I put
like,
it together.
this would be like,
And I'm like a passenger of this weird ride.
I mean, we could just do a normal 4-hour fucking podcast. And it's gonna be like, okay, I shoot my life, blah, 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 blah. Let's talk about futurology. Let's talk about time travel. Let's talk about aliens. Let's talk about Bible. Let's talk about nuclear.
Silly said, how about ham
Yeah,
pizza?
Something that.
Yeah, so I don't eat ham,
But because when I think about your podcast,
so that doesn't
I
work.
think about Joey Diaz. I think
But
about all
if
those
they want
comedians
that, you know,
I mean, you had Joey on.
that's their thing.
Maybe close to 50 times.
But yeah, I do my
some
best
crazy number.
to
Is there
stay kosher,
he's
and
over the top
because of that,
just that's who he is
I
to the
would
core.
certainly avoid any
Is
kind
there
of ham
some
pizza that they
sense
have.
where
But
you
I'm sure
wonder,
that's like the smallest of the
whether
problems
it's
is
right
what
to have
kind of pizza we're gonna
have
have.
Spotify?
I'm
episode
sure
number 1?
it will be, but I can also
5
tell you
hours.
this.
Well,
Another
why-
thing I think we're gonna do,
They do it that way.
Is
That's
this.
why we wore NASA suits and we got high.
and
Fuck.
let me just say this,
Like,
I
that's
give a
the whole
shit
idea
about this
behind
guy.
Okay, can
Silly
you interest
said, what's your favorite pizza?
like that?
Supreme.
Like, do you think like what is that? Because that's
I
rare.
like pizza with like
Is it
all the
rare
vegetables and
thing.
pineapple,
to do? Because they're
like,
you're not supposed to talk to them. Also,
I like,
platform do you have?
if you can,
Why not?
Because
I like
Donald
pizza
Trump
with
apparently
as much
watches it.
stuff on it as possible.
So,
And
so just the idea that
I also like
I mean, that's
pineapple
what
on my pizza.
I think about.
And if you don't like
CEOs,
pineapple on
right,
your
because
pizza,
they listen to the
That's
podcast,
cool, because I also like pizza without
and I
pineapple.
have somebody like
I like them both. But for someone to be like, oh, I don't like pineapple on my pizza, it's like, okay, that's cool, but like, we don't have to go to war over this fucking subject.
Experiences with UFOs.
But I will say this, it is quite refreshing. It's like
open
the
like this, but you open themselves to the
savoriness of a
unconventional
pizza
ideas.
and the
Most
sweetness
people in the
of
scientific
pineapple,
community kind of
or
say, well, I don't really want to believe anything that doesn't have a lot of
perhaps there's some umami,
So that was
umami in there.
as things somehow
Whatever the
more popular.
one is that's like tangy
fear of like, well,
as well, the
should I
flavor
talk to this
profile.
person or not?
But there's a nice
I mean, you're
combination,
an inspiration in saying like,
and it's quite enjoyable.
You have to.
I have
First of
had,
all, I have what we call fuck you money.
Silly
And if you have fuck you
what
money,
if
you don't
he
say fuck you,
finds
what's the
out
point of
that
having
you
a
said
fuck you
you
money?
don't give a
You're
shit
wasting
about him?
Like you're
I
wasting
bet he'll like
position.
me even
Someone
more.
said to me,
Because
like,
this is
I
how I'd
don't like
explain it.
sports cars.
Dude,
Tell me cars.
I'm a guy who has a
If I was
ton
a
of
kid,
fucking
And I
content,
said, hey, if I was
24
that
hours,
crazy
and
rich
I have to
famous
fill
guy,
it. So I filled it with you, and I filled it with
So I would do that.
like
it's
a
just-
bunch of different
not everybody
podcasters,
gets to do that. Like, you're the
done
first
a
one
ton
to
of
do that.
comedians,
You're kind of supposed
and
to. Like that's if you.
but if you didn't have so much content, I wouldn't fucking have listened to you at all. It's not like I think that you're the greatest fucking MMA announcer ever. No, I think you're good at that job, but I don't think that you're like, I'm not a super fan of any of your shit. When it comes to your comedy, dog, I've listened to like 2,000 of your fucking podcasts, and I never once watched you give any fucking stand-up. None. I don't watch your fucking specials. I don't watch your fucking comedy. I don't give a shit about that because honestly, I don't think you're that fucking funny.
69 is generation
Oh,
3, 69 is.
Hold on. There are aspects of it, but here's the thing.
Awesome in different ways.
I'm not.
But I just love.
I'm being very unfair to him. I say you're not funny, but I've never seen your work. But I mean, just in general, like here,
And the thing is, like, I
Well,
would do
I-
the Duncan.
I say you're not funny,
but
I do think you're funny. But what do I mean? It's not like, if there were like a
I
bunch
would
of
do a Duncan.
comedians
We'd get
there,
high, we'd talk crazy shit about aliens.
and Joey Diaz is there,
Maybe
all the attention's on Joey Diaz. He's much funnier than you are, and I think Joe Rogan would say just naturally, he has like a personality that is like very,
life form ideas.
just old school traditional.
I think about it in a
I
technical
think
side.
he would be pissed off
I
about
heard you
that.
say that. 'cause I
Dog,
think it was
you can
positive.
think whatever you want. I know for a fact every much 2,000 of his fucking things that what the last thing that he wants is, dude, some fucking guy who is on the internet who's obsessed with me.
They think about this.
I'm not. I watch all these fucking podcasts. I don't know his fucking wife's name.
And then they build this.
I don't know his kids' names.
It's like you
The only thing I know about his kids is anything that he says in his fucking podcast. But I don't.
Airplane. You're
Meaning,
thinking
like,
about
when I say I don't give a shit about him, there are some people who would be like, wow, you watch a lot of his shit.
Tools and how.
Don't you like, you get really into his life, and they do it. They get really into like, they know where he lives, and they know, like,
There's
all
also
his
possibility
cars,
that we're
and they know.
simplifying something by saying that it's just
I
creativity.
just
That is just a natural
basically
human inclination to
have it
invent
on
things.
as background noise a
Why?
lot of times.
Is
and,
it possible that ideas,
And for me to say, I don't give a
we are
shit
the
about
only
him.
animal.
I don't give a shit about anything.
Create things like bees
I mean,
make
but
bees
in
eyes
reality, I give a shit about everything.
You know, some animals use tools.
I would say to him, I think that he's done a really great service for the world. He's produced a lot of content, and
There's something
I've learned a lot from his podcast. So
it makes you wonder.
How would you feel if Joe Rogan talked about you?
I think it'd be really cool. It would be pretty surreal. Because I remember when he started the podcast, and I'm not saying I listened to the very first episode when it aired, but I listened to it within 2 days. Here's the thing, it first streamed on something called Justin TV, December 24th, 2009, and
You thinking that?
then it went on YouTube, maybe like a day later or 2 days later, and that's when I first started listening to it. So like 2 days into the podcast or something, like, I think in order to listen to the original one, or the one that aired December 24th, 2009, you had to be listening
your
like
ideas
on Justin TV, and I didn't even know that was a thing.
come
But I did know
sit down
YouTube
and
was a
you
thing in
sit
2009.
down like a
And
professional.
so I was listening to it on
Talk to the
back then.
and
And
like if the muse was
I went
a
like,
real thing, if the muse was like some mystical creature.
I mean, it was just like where he was hanging out with Redman.
Even if that's not real, that's how it works.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't think it was that great.
Treat it like it's a muse,
And it wasn't. It was just like them
you
bullshit.
treat it like a professional. The
And
ideas do come to
then,
you.
I never thought about what he's doing. He's just sitting there waiting.
like, it was a thing that was just like, there were more and more episodes.
Yeah.
But I didn't listen to them
If you show up,
very
if you
regularly.
show up, you put in the time.
So he went
and
through like
focus
1,000
your energy
episodes.
on that. The
and
ideas, they will
I
rise.
I
They will
didn't
rise.
really
That's the
listen to
same
them.
with writing comedy. Like, there's
But
been
then
many times where I'll come home from the comedy
there was an
and I just
episode that
sit
he
down and
had.
start writing. And I just like,
Yeah.
I got nothing.
I want to say that caught my
Writing, it's
attention.
all bullshit.
And I think it was around
Nothing's good.
episode,
It's just like,
well,
and all of a sudden,
I should say like maybe episode 700 or so. Like he had this guy, he kept having this guy on,
a couple
this
hours
Joe
later,
Diaz.
whoa.
And
Next night I'm on stage,
for
I'm
as,
like, how
as
about
funny as
that?
Joe Rogan is, which he can be, and I like said earlier,
And I know that
I don't think he's that funny.
the discipline to sit down.
it's unfair for me to say because I've never seen
The
his
cool
stand
thing
up.
is the idea.
You would think that I would watch his stand up, but I almost like not
I'm gonna
watching
use
his
this
stand up.
Like he seems to have a
just
podcast.
because
I'm gonna bring it inside his
it's
brain.
like a little present
and
that I'm
spread it
keeping
to
for
others.
myself. That like,
All
Alright,
Or an inventor.
now
You know,
after
he's
I
this
watched
guy who's,
all
like,
your
desperately
shit,
seeking some sort of
now I'm gonna
a
watch his
product to
crap.
bring to market. Some
And
guy
I,
wants to invent
it's not to
things.
say that I don't watch a lot of stand up, I
And
do.
these ideas
But,
away your head.
uh,
And it seems to me also
somehow
that
his is
you have
always
the
escaped me.
frequency.
I'll tell you when I
Mind
became a really
operates
big
on
Joe Rogan
has to
fan.
be correct. Because one of the things about
When
creativity seems to be if you think
Carlos
about yourself a
Mencia
lot, if you
was
really
accused of
yourself,
being a joke thief and
or
stealing jokes
you're
at the comedy
selfish,
store.
those
I
ideas are
remember
not,
seeing
they don't
this
find you.
this
Funny.
The ideas
grainy video from the comedy store that Brian Redband took, I believe,
Yeah.
of this encounter where Joe Rogan gets up and just admonishes
writers. There's never like really good writers.
or
who also
like the rates.
it's just joke thieves, and then
There's something
when they have to write on their own, they get exposed. They become terrible comedians.
Mencia.
They're a shadow of what they were when they were.
And he had to like.
Because the thing
I mean, that got Joe Rogan banned from the comedy store
is
for like a
that
decade.
ego part. The
And
wanting to claim
then
this
Joe Rogan went and did his own thing.
Or
And
you want to be the person who gets out there and says it. Everybody's gonna
I
love
remember
me.
watching that video
You can't think like
and
that.
being
and
like,
be
oh, that's
creative.
really cool.
It requires
Joe Rogan, the guy from
it
Fear
requires
Factor,
a detachment from
I didn't know
self
he was a
in order to
comedian.
create.
He
When
has
I'm
this,
writing,
like,
I'm
and I want to
blank.
say
This is
that
scary.
happened in like
The part
2007
of my mind that's active
or
is
2000.
not like me.
It was around,
It's
it
like
was
this
really like,
weird core function
But
part.
it caught my
where
attention.
I'm
I mean,
not-
I
I'm not
first
aware.
learned of Joe Rogan,
My personality, I'm not aware.
News
I'm not
radio.
aware of
but
anything.
here's the
I'm
thing.
just trying to put
Joe
it
Rogan
together.
was on news
I
radio.
know
I can't tell you one fucking
Yeah.
line he ever had on the show. I can't tell you anything about his
Yeah, and sometimes it's not that way.
because I
Sometimes
didn't
it's
watch the show
inspirational.
like
Sometimes I'll just sit
really.
there at dinner and
in a
I
meaningful
got
way.
an idea. And
What
I'll
do I
watch
mean?
this.
I didn't.
I have an idea.
I was a
And
kid,
then blah, blah, blah.
and
I just
so
run out of the room.
news radio was like a show that was like,
You know,
and he
those are-
says
those
it
are
too.
like
They
little
always
gifts.
put it on
You
different
get some
time
universe
slots.
out of
So
nowhere. And some people
I'm not
did
saying
like,
it
oh,
wasn't
I
a
have
good show
those
because I
gifts.
did watch them,
You know, and I've talked to comics
but
about
it was
like,
just
oh,
something
one
like
of my
I
best
wasn't
ideas when I
really
write.
into it because I was just
I do too.
younger. I
I
was
come
a
up with great
kid.
ideas when I
But I
do.
knew Phil Hartman, and Phil Hartman was like the big
Not YouTube.
actor on the time, and I knew him because of his work on Saturday Night Live, and I knew it had a lot of cast members. And Joe Rogan was one of them, and I think he was like the handyman on it.
I don't need much.
And honestly,
also,
like Phil Hartman was a big character, but Andy Dick was a big character on it too. And there are other people too that like I don't remember all of that people's names, but like of the characters they had, their lineup
But at
it was
this point,
pretty big.
that
They
also
had
goes
like
up to
that many
F you
cast
in a
members.
sense that
Anyway,
I don't.
the
I don't need anything.
thing is, I knew Joe from that,
By way of asking.
and then I really got to know him on Fear Factor, because Fear Factor in the United States was a really big show.
On the podcast,
It wasn't like the biggest kind of show,
do you
but
have
it was
advice
like,
for somebody like for me.
it had its time when it was really, really popular, and then it went into syndication. So a lot of people got to know it. And then Joe Rogan got all this money from doing all kinds of that shit. And he was able to fund the podcast and all this
The
other
advice is
stuff.
to keep doing
And
what
I,
feels right to you and do what you're doing. Obviously,
but I wasn't a huge Fear Factor fan. It wasn't like something that I was like,
Just keep doing it the way you're
but I
doing
did watch,
I
watched-
everybody else get
I would
involved.
say,
What
a lot.
about
Just because it was on a lot, or my friends would want to watch it or something, but
Well, I think I met him
what I'm trying to say is I never was like a super diehard
what
Joe Rogan fan.
did you
And
think deeply about? Because like you
well,
basically
what started to change me was when he would have Joe Diaz on. And Joey Diaz was
selective
just like,
about
dog,
and Jake took somebody to bring
this girl was eating her box, and I was like, Jesus, who the fuck talks like that? And,
I mean, he might have told, I don't remember how he was.
and it was really funny to me that this person was just so raw.
right away.
And
He's
they were like, they had just this blue collar
He's
attitude.
not a guy who needs a lot
And I
of
thought it was
attention.
really
He's not a
funny.
guy who
And so
overestimates,
I would learn who Joey Diaz was.
like in terms of
It
like,
took me a
negative
while.
or positive.
Like,
Like his
what would
his-
happen
his,
is there'd be a Joe Rogan I'd be watching,
whether it's
and then it would go to,
good things that
and then
happen
I'd
to
fall
show
asleep or
back
something, and
and
awake,
he
and it
just
would be
takes
like
it
an
all
episode where Joey Diaz was on.
He's
And I kind of
chill.
just got to know him that way.
And he's so
And
smart.
then,
And he's so good as an audio engineer.
And
as
then
a podcast
it got to
He's the best.
be like episode
So
1,000
how do you find
of the Joe Rogan Experience,
when you know
and
people in? I'm sure
episode
other people
1,000
care about like
of
what
the
are
Joe Rogan
co-hosts
Experience,
that could- you basically
in my
kind of-
opinion,
Well,
Here's the
arguably
problem with co-hosts.
the
Like,
greatest
you and I are talking. When we're talking, I'm tuned into you.
in the history of the Joe
I'm
Rogan
waiting
Experience.
to hear
Meaning,
what you're saying.
of just like
I'm listening,
random
I'm
episodes,
interpreting it, and then I'm
Episode
counting
1,000 is
what evaluating whether or
exceptional.
not I have anything to say.
He has Joey Diaz on and Tom
Keep
Segura.
talking.
And honestly,
whether
Tom
I
Segura
maybe
is
have
just along for the
question
ride.
Lets you expand
It's
further.
the
or
Joey
whether
Diaz
I
show.
have a
And
disagreement
Joey Diaz just goes and fucking my dog.
that's going on. Now, when
He
there's
tells
another
his
person
fucking,
there,
it's
chiming
really,
in too,
it's really because
fucks
Joey
the
Diaz
dance.
tells
It's
two
like dancing.
stories
Like, if you
that are
think
just
of
over
a
the
dance
top.
somewhere, you know,
He talks
That's
about
yours.
slow
eating the girls
dances,
bunkie
and then a third
in
person's there stepping on their
Tennessee,
feet.
in
Sometimes
Knoxville, Tennessee,
Sometimes having a third person
And
on comedy
he talks
podcast,
about
sometimes from
debate,
getting flown
yeah, debate structure,
in
even
like
that, it's different.
Montana or like
Over each other.
Idaho or
Also,
something like this at
I
a,
find
an
that
army
without
base.
headphones,
And
it's way easier to talk
it's
over
like
make mistakes.
these
You
two
don't-
stories
you
that
don't
he
hear
tells
the same way.
are
When
just
you have
very, very
headphones,
funny.
I hear what you
And
hear. It's all
they just
one
talk about,
sound,
you know,
and the
what it's
audience
like to have
hears
done 1,000
exactly,
shows or whatever, and
or
you
rather,
know,
I hear exactly what the
1,000
audience
to
hears.
1,000 more.
Whereas
And
over here, my voice is
And
loud,
when I
you
saw
guys
that
are
one,
there. And if I
that
don't have headphones
episode
on,
1,000,
it's all together.
that's when I
One
really
one
became
of
a
the
Joey
interesting things about
Diaz
your
fan.
show
Like,
is
oh, this guy is
Joe
really
almost
fucking
never
funny.
have done any
And
show
then I
or
started
anything
getting
remote,
into the,
sorry, not remote
I
calls,
mean, a
but
little bit, it took
looking
me a
to
while,
another
but
person's
the
location.
church of what's happening now.
You've heard John
And
small handful.
that's,
just like a
to me,
small
the church of
issue.
what's happening now,
I actually, I was going
is-
back and forth on email. I told him he used to
in
get
its
Jerry
own
his
way,
ass back in this
Right.
studio. He's working with
Ben
I was
was
a fan
Joe
of
Rogan
his a long
experience.
time ago because I became obsessed with Top
It's-
Shelf Osmosis.
It's dirty,
You know, and
it's
I've reached out to him
it's just,
a long time
it's
ago
raw.
before he
And
was willing to do it.
That's what I like about it. So I listen to those. There just aren't that many on YouTube.
Really snatched up an hour.
So
of
what
his
have we
time.
learned?
He doesn't
Basically
get
this,
it.
if you have a lot of fucking data of like a podcast or a TV show or something like that, there's a good chance that I'm gonna watch it just because I want the content or what's going to be able to
It's
provide.
not magical rock conversations.
So
Like that,
anyway,
like somebody
I hope that answers your question.
if he gives himself over to
Sorry,
the
you
conversation.
ask me a question. I was just
That's another place where you've been an inspiration, where I, like, you know,
Alright, let me
getting
know if you
more
want to know
confidence
anything.
in telling people, like Elon Musk, that, like, you know, a lot of CEOs are like, well, he has 30 minutes on his schedule. I'm like, no, 3 hours. And then they're like, so some say no, and then they come back, and those people start coming back to like, okay, we're starting to get it. They start to get it. And you're a rare beacon of hope in that sense, that there's some value in long form. They
That's
think
young
that
man.
nobody wants to listen for more than 30 minutes, that they think like I have nothing to say. But the reality is, if you just give yourself over to like the 3 hours, just let it go, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is, there's so much to discover about what you didn't even know you think.
Yeah, you have to be confident that you could do it. And in the beginning, I just did it because that's what I wanted to do, and no one was listening. So I've always been a curious person. So I've always been interested in listening to how people think about things and talking to people about their mindset and just and expanding on my own ideas, just talking shit. And so we would have these podcasts and they would go on forever. And my friend Ari, I never let him
You say dog
never let
because
this die
Joey
down.
Diaz
Never
says
let
it.
him forget this. He was always like, you have to
Great question.
tell me right now you're fucking up.
Great
Why?
question.
He's like, because people are not going to listen to you.
I
They don't have to.
I've been saying dog for a long time.
Just do it.
but
Just
not
tell
as
me,
much.
trust me. Cut it
It's
down.
become more and more common
And I'm like, no,
amongst
I don't think you're right. I
these
like
podcasts for guys to be using it.
it.
And then I just went above and beyond and just started using it instead of calling someone dude or guy or like, you know, sir.
But you wouldn't.
I'll just be like, yo, dog,
I mentioned to you this before.
here's what's going on. And it's just it's like, what?
But you wouldn't
You're
travel
calling me
to
dog?
talk to.
It's just a very funny thing.
He's not. He's
So,
not.
You're talking to
how did that start?
Things
So,
about Jerry Kraft.
how did that
stole
start?
Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that was a little bit.
I
of the
think
first thing.
it was used. It was just
I think
used
it's a little bit
in
decided to steal
culture
that Super Bowl.
I would say
I think there's a.
it's
He
unique
thought, "Can I
for
see your
some
ring?"
contracts.
He
So
shows
like
his ring.
where I
It's
first
not,
heard
it's like,
it,
"I murdered
I
somebody."
want to say
So when he walks off,
is
It's possible he
something
did
like
it.
the Chappelle Show.
He's a big believer.
Something like that, probably
in
like the
Sundays.
first place I heard it on
Yeah.
TV.
So like it's possible he did that, but I think he sees himself as like a
And, like,
tool with which to demonstrate that Russia still belongs on the stage of the big players.
I'm not exactly sure if
So
it's
he-
it on there
A lot of the
actually,
actions selected through
but
that
it was something like that.
lens, but in
It was
terms of
like,
a human being,
Dave Chappelle or
outside
some
of any
stand-up.
of the
It could
evils
have been
that
anybody.
he may or may not have done,
It could have been
he
Steve
is
Harvey.
a
It could
really
have been Cedric
thoughtful,
Entertainer.
intelligent,
Silly
fun human
Who's
being.
your
The
favorite
wit,
Jew?
and the depth from the JRE perspective is really
Probably Maimonides.
The,
Are we talking
he's-
about
he's-
alive
He's
or dead?
really good at judo.
Oh,
I have seen
Maimonides.
him practice judo. He's a legit writer.
and not only that, he loves it.
But
Just skill
Rabbi Akiva as well. They're about
to think
1,000 years
it
apart.
may as
Rabbi
well.
Akiva was around
Yeah.
the time of the Romans, and Maimonides was approximately the year.
Well, that's according to your principle, so that's the core of it. Just
I
go to
I
whatever.
would rather.
100 or
Here's
so,
the thing.
and
There's not a person that I have to have on the show.
Rabbi, why would I?
And
why
I'm
would I
happy to
do
talk
that?
to anybody.
Um,
I'm just as happy to talk to you as I am to talk to Trump.
he's an
As I am to,
inspiration.
I'm more happy to talk to you.
Said
As I am to talk to Mike Tyson.
Oh, alive.
As I am to talk to Joey Diaz. I like
Who's
talking
my
to people.
favorite alive?
I enjoy doing podcasts. I enjoy talking to a variety of people, and I schedule them based on. I want to I try not to get too many right wing people in a row or too many
Well,
progressive
like
people in a
ones
row.
that I
want
really know.
competitive. I try not to get too many fighters in a row. I try to balance it out, not too many.
Because I have
comedians are
some
the
friends of mine
One
who are
group,
like
I
alive.
can have 3, 4 in a row, 5 in a row.
So,
Because that's my tribe.
ones who are alive,
It's easy. We can talk about anything. It's a weird dance.
who I know,
The conversations that you do on a podcast are
ones
they're
who I
strange
don't know,
dance, and you want to, you want to not step on your own feet. You want to make sure that you do it in a way, do the podcast in a way that's entertaining for people.
I really want to
It's
think about this.
Conversations are learning how to talk to you. It's a weird skill. It's a weird skill that took a long time for me to get good at, and I didn't know it was a skill until I started doing it. And then I just thought you were just talking. Like, I like talking. You're just talking.
Here.
And then along the way, I realized, like, and then when you talk to people
Rabbi
bad at it, you realize that it's a
Yosef.
skill. Like, particularly, one of the things about
Silly said
my people,
my
about
favorite
comedians,
Jew
is
is Jesus
a lot of them
Christ.
tend to want to
Hey,
talk,
dog,
but
that
don't
works
want to
for
listen.
some people.
So
You and like
waiting
a
for you
billion other
to
people.
stop talking so they can talk. They're not
Um,
necessarily thinking
no, I
about
would
what you're
probably
saying.
say Rabbi.
And they're just waiting for their opportunity or to talk over you, or they. And I try real hard not to do that. Sometimes I fail, but
Living
my,
Jew,
when I'm at my best,
myself.
I'm dancing.
Yeah, ultimately,
Well,
this
I shouldn't say
conversation
that.
is just
I've never met him.
really listening.
I've never met him though.
Like really, and listening.
Rabbi
Listening and thinking and being like genuinely
Moshe
curious.
Shalom is a
And
friend of
really
mine. Of
having
course, I met him. So he's a Jew
take
who
on what they're saying. Maybe a follow-up question, or maybe it's got to be real. It's got to be
one
authentic.
of my favorite
And when it is
people
authentic and it's real,
on earth.
it resonates with people. Like they're listening and they go, "Oh,
Who
like,
I
I'm
met
locked in
and
with the way
then
you're
who I
thinking."
haven't met.
Like you two guys
Yeah,
having a
who are these
conversation,
rabbis?
I'm locked in.
One of them
When
is
she
a
talks,
pretty
you
famous
listen,
rabbi
I'm
online,
listening too.
and
When he says something to her, when she says something
in the
to
real world as well.
him, like there's just a thing that
And
happens
the other
during
one is
conversations where you are there, like you're listening to, and it's with me. When I listen to a good podcast, I feel like I'm in the room. I feel like I'm in the room, and I'm like the friend that got to sit down and listen. Like, oh, yeah, it's a great
Silly
conversation.
said
I love conversations. I love listening to them,
I
and
am,
I love putting them together. And
aside from
the fact that this podcast has gotten so fucking big
most likely
blows me away.
the power
I never
change
anticipated it.
on
Never thought for a
February
second
28th,
that's the thing that I
2024,
used to do in my couch,
after the
my
death of
office,
Jacob
was the biggest
Rothschild,
thing I've ever done in my
his
life. By far.
Nathaniel Rothschild,
used to
probably
make fun of
Nathaniel
Like there's a
Rothschild.
Comedy Store documentary that's
So,
coming out.
I'm
and one
first,
of the parts of the
Nathaniel
documentary,
second,
my friend Tom Segura when he first started doing my podcast, he would be leaving and he would talk to Red Band. He's like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, why is he doing this? Like, who's listening? He's like, oh, some people like it. And it's like fucking nonsense, waste of time. And like in the documentary shows like 2,000 views, like one of the early Ustream episodes.
Hilarious. And they don't just like it, really. They form a friendship with you. It's like even me, when people come up to me, like the love in their eyes is kind of beautiful.
It's weird, right?
Yeah, it's like
you're part of their life.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's also heartbreaking because you realize you'll never really get to know them back, like because they clearly are friends with you.
Yes, yeah.
And it's sad to see a person who's clearly brilliant and interesting and is friends with you, but you don't get a chance to return that love. And
my kids, it took them a while to figure out what's going on.
You.
But people come up to me and you know, they would say something like, "Hey man, I fucking
Very
love you."
important.
Yeah. All right, hey brother, nice to meet you. My daughter was like 6. She's like,
No,
"You know
what
this?"
is that?
Like, no, I don't know. She's like, "How does
I
this
would probably say happiness. But I really like
conversation I
happiness.
used to have with young kids.
Personal
When I
happiness is
explain
really
about this thing called
quite
podcasting,
a positive.
bring to people. Listen, so now one of my daughters is 12.
You can have power and not be happy.
Her friends, he's 13. He's a boy. And he goes to school with her, and he's obsessed with me.
And you can
And so
be
she's
happy
worried
without power.
She says to him, "I don't think you like me.
Like if you're
I think
powerful
you're just into
but
my
not
dad,
happy,
you fucking weirdo."
that's kind of a depressive
I'm
life.
gonna have that conversation.
If you're happy but not powerful, that's fine.
Stages in our
You're
life.
happy.
Right.
Like that's why happiness is so important
Yeah.
in society.
That's the thing
Like
about
raising
men,
your
too,
dopamine
This
levels
podcast
and your serotonin.
is my
That's
podcast
really
is
fucking
uniquely
important.
masculine.
And if you're able to
I'm a
do
man,
that
I'm
regularly,
not. I'm also
happiness is a
a
really
man that doesn't have to
really
go through some
important
sort of
thing.
corporate filter.
So if you
I'm
can
going
keep
through
someone
executive
happy,
producers telling me don't
they're
have
gonna
this guest
be
on, don't talk
really-
about that. You know, we looked at focus groups and they don't
why
seem to like
would
what
they
they
never
do.
stick around?
Like there's none of that.
So when I say happiness is the
I
most
just do
important thing in
it. So
work,
so I have a whole podcast where I just talk about cars. And people are like, I don't want to hear you talk about cars. Well, good.
to me
Congratulations.
it is,
You found what you like. Here's good news. There's 1,500 other ones. Go listen to the other episodes where I don't talk about cars. You know, you don't have to.
I would say that's probably
And it's not like your
for
brand. You just-
any kind of
you are.
species.
Well, it's like, it's
Species
authentically
do
what
what
I'm
makes them
interested in.
happy.
All the
They have
podcasts, whether I'm
sex,
talking to
they
David
eat
Fravor
food,
about his experience with UFOs,
They rest.
whether I'm
These
talking
things
to
make them happy.
David Sinclair about life
And-
extension, whether I'm talking to you about artificial intelligence, or it's because I want to talk to
So
those people.
I would say personal happiness is more important. Like,
I like.
so we'll take the Daniel Rothschild.
You know, I've talked about this before,
Yeah.
like things that I have no
And I'd
interest
say,
in.
dog.
But I like this PBS show. This
We're
guy
both
makes
really
furniture
powerful
by hand. I
individuals,
love
right?
Rothschild.
Yeah.
Because he's so into it.
I'd be
He's
like,
like sanding
all right,
this.
so get this.
I'm not going to do that. I don't give a fuck about furniture.
You're
Furniture for me is
powerful,
function. Like this desk.
and you're
Function
happy.
works, but I love
I
when
would
people
think.
are into it. You know,
Well,
I'm
no,
happy that
there's some
someone
shit
can make it.
that
They do a
may
great
not
job.
be, but
I'm not interested.
I
in
think he'd
the
agree.
task
His personal
or the
pleasure
finished
is
product
worth more to
as
him
much
than
as I'm interested
any
in
of that other
passion
shit.
for something.
If he's not happy,
That
nothing's
shines.
going well.
Last
But if
question.
he's happy, then all the other shit can
Sometimes
fall
it has
into
a
place.
place just for
So
to,
personal happiness,
what is it?
personal
Challenge.
satisfaction, I think is
To
very
make people roll
important.
their eyes. To legitimize
Very,
their
very
eyes.
important.
As
Key aspect of being a human is
I do not think
that
there is a meaning.
ability
I think
to,
there's many meanings of life.
or
I
just
think there's a
any
way
kind
to
of
navigate life that's
to bring
enjoyable.
pleasure
I
to
think it
yourself.
requires
I mean,
many
it's up
things.
there with
It
like
requires, first of all, it requires love.
food
You have to
and
have loved
reproduction
ones,
and
you have to
everything.
have family, you have to have friends, you have to have people that care about you, and you have to care about them. I think that is primary. Then it also requires interests. There has to be things that stimulate you. Now, it could be just a subsistence lifestyle. There's many people that believe and practice this lifestyle of just living off the land and hunting and fishing and living in the woods, and they seem incredibly happy. And there's something to be said for that. That is an interest, right? There's something, and there's a direct connection between their actions and their sustenance. They get their food that way. They're connected to nature, and it's very satisfying for them. if you don't have that, I think you need something that is interesting to you, something that you're passionate about. And there's far too many people that get sucked into living a life where you're just doing a job, just showing up and putting in your time and going home, but you don't have a passion for what you're doing. And I think that's the recipe.
How did you get such a username?
You mentioned love.
Yeah.
Really like what we talked about the demons and the violence in there somewhere. What's the role of love in your own life?
It's very important.
I see your address in your
It's one of the
description.
reasons
Has
why
any of your viewers ever done anything with your
I'm
address?
so interested in helping
I've had people
people.
come and
I'm
visit
very
me,
interested in people feeling good.
but
I like them to feel good. I
no,
want to help
nobody's
them.
done
I
anything
like
that.
doing things that make them feel like, oh, you
I'm
care
trying
about
to beat
me.
them to the punch. I'm letting them know where I am.
Like I want people to feel good. I want my family to feel good. I want my friends to feel good. I want guests to feel good about the podcast experience. You know, I'm a big believer in as much as I can to spread positive energy and joy and happiness and
How did you
relay
get the
all the
name
good
All
advice.
Hail the Moon Cricket?
All the things that I've learned, and if they can benefit people, when I find that those things benefit people, and actually improve the quality of their life or improve their success or improve their relationships, or I'm very happy to do that. That means a lot to me. The way we interact with each other is so important. It's one of the reasons why, like, if someone gets canceled or you get publicly shamed, it's so devastating because there's all these people that are negative. All this negative energy coming your way, and you feel it. As much as I like to pretend that you're immune to that kind of stuff, and some people do like to pretend that, you feel it. There's a tangible force
Because I
that
love
people are
moon
upset,
crickets.
and that's the same with
That's like,
loved ones,
are moon
family,
crickets
or
a
anytime someone's
specific
upset at you,
kind of cricket, or
whether it's a
you just
giant
like
group of
crickets
people
at night?
or there's a small amount of people, that has an impact on you and your psyche and your physical being. So the more you can spread love and the more love comes back to you, you also create this butterfly effect, right? Because where other people start recognizing, like, oh, you know what, he's nice to me, I feel better, and I'm going to be nicer to people. When I'm nicer to people, they feel better, and I feel better, and it spreads outward. And that's one thing that I've done through this podcast. I think is I've imparted my personal philosophy on in kindness and generosity to other people.
Yeah, I mean, to correct you,
Yeah, what
you
is
didn't
that?
do it. The ideas that are breeding themselves to your brain.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
they're high through the air, they made their way into my head.
Love is a more efficient
I
method
will.
of spreading ideas they figured out.
Can you give me a breakdown?
Probably, man.
Summarize a moon cricket,
So,
please.
as far as like the meaning of life, that's a big. Without that, you have nothing. You know, one of the biggest failures in life is to be extremely successful financially, but everybody hates you. Everybody hates you, and you're just miserable and alone and angry and depressed and sad. You know, when you hear about rich, famous people that commit suicide, like, wow, you missed the mark. You got some parts right, but you put too many eggs in one basket. You put too many eggs in the financial basket or the success basket or the accomplishment basket, and not enough in the friendship and love
All hail
basket.
the moon
There's a
crickets.
balance to that. And when I talk about the violence and all that stuff, like that to me is me understanding and recognizing that is me trying to achieve that balance. It's like go kill those demons so that this boat is level. Because if it's not, then the boat is like this, and then everything's all fucked up. Every time we hit a wave, things fall apart. Balance it, figure it out. Know who you are. Some people don't have that problem at all. Some people, they can just go for walks and they're cool as a cucumber. I need more. You know, I need kettlebells. I need a heavy bag. I need the echo bike, the aerosol bike. I need some hardcore shit. If I don't get that, I won't feel good. So I figured that out too, and that makes me a nicer person. That makes my interactions nicer. It changes the quality of my friendships, my relationships.
Like, why aren't you doing the dance?
I think you mentioned your links. I can certainly guarantee that this is one of the memories I'll be replaying.
Thank
30 years from now once we get the feature ready. Joe, it's a huge honor to talk to you. I hope
It's an honor to talk to you too.
I like to think of it when it was like a little insect.
Because we doing this here, and it's very cool to have you all.
I hope you make Texas cool again and do your podcast for 10, 11, whatever, however many years you keep going. So, thank you, Dave. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for listening to the conversation with Joe Rogan. Thank you to our sponsors, Neuro, Casely, and Dollar Shave.
Oh, and answer to an earlier question that
discount and
we have.
support this podcast.
Yo, dog.
Do this thing. Subscribe on YouTube. Review my podcast. Follow on Spotify.
Those two
We're on
big ones.
Patreon. Connect with me on Twitter. And Lex Freedom.
I realized when did I start using dog? When I started doing this, I didn't use it in real life. A little, but only if I was doing an impression of somebody. Just because my friends and I didn't really talk like that. Maybe a little bit in college.
All hail the moon crickets. Said, it's kind of funny.
No, it's not. Rachel words aren't funny.
I'm here with Mr. Beef, the brilliant mastermind behind some of the most popular videos ever created. Do you think you'll ever make a video that gets 1 billion views? I think maybe one of the videos we've already made might get 1 billion views. Which one do you think? Probably like the Squid Game video with enough time. I mean, it's only a year old. It's already on 300 million, or some of the newer ones we've done. I've gotten like 100 million views in a month. So those 4 projected over 10 years because YouTube's not going anywhere. Probably one of those.
All hail the moon crickets. Said, do you still love me?
Yeah,
question, so
it's just think about it this way.
I'm a firm believer that
That's
much
gonna
easier
like
to
cause
get
offense
10 million views on one video than 100,000
individuals.
on 100. And part of why it's
I
much
get
easier,
it.
in my opinion, is like
You're really
make a
creative
really good video
for using
evergreen and it never dies. Because YouTube,
outdated
when you
terms
open up YouTube and look at the videos, they're just serving you
for
whatever they think you like
individuals.
the best, And so
I
if you
get
make
that.
a great video,
It's creative that
and
you
it's constantly just above
took
every other
something
video.
that was old and brought it to
down
the
road,
new,
then
the
you
modern
just
day.
keep serving it.
However,
which is why it's much easier to make one great video.
it's a very mean thing. It's a very sad thing. It's not a positive thing. People should be positive. When people read that and they understand what it means, they're gonna think very badly of you. Your normal person who is watching this would immediately be like, I don't like that person, and I don't know why they would pick such a mean thing for their
it all comes back to
their
video. So instead of like
Now,
focusing on all these,
if you were like this,
metrics,
dog,
I just kind of focus on the ones
I'm
that can
black,
all that.
and I'm doing it as a joke from my fucking ancestors. Who are you to tell me what to do? I'm not telling you, be whatever you want to be. There's that argument to be true, to be like, look, I think it's funny because, and it's part of my culture, cool. And I understand that, if that's how you want to be, I get that. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's like, but if you're,
Said, I love you too, man.
But if you're not,
that's how you get them. Okay, well, let me ask you about
like, associated with that culture, you're just using that as an old term, that's not gonna be good on you.
If someone offered you $10,000,
It's gonna make you look
take
racist,
a random person on there dies.
and that's not a good
Would you
look.
take the $10,000? And 45% of people said yes. That's, at least at the time I checked, 850,000 people committing murder for just $8.5 billion in total. So what do you learn about human nature from that? That's a good question. Honestly, it's like late at night when I threw that up too. It's like, this will be a funny thing. I assumed it'd be
I
90%
identify as
no,
black.
10% yes.
Cool.
But there are a lot of serious
Well,
people.
then,
For you guys listening,
I
I just
can
did the
tell-
random Twitter poll.
I'll tell you
I was
this,
like,
I
would
identify
you
as
take
black
10 grand
too,
if it meant someone
But
random people died? And
I think
a lot of
probably in just a
people
different way, meaning
yeah, why not? And I was just not expecting that.
I like black people a lot, and if you follow
I
my
don't really know.
when
I feel like
far
you're
enough back, it comes from Africa. But that's because it's the cradle of civilization.
But, obviously a lot of people were trolling. But I actually,
And
you read
actuality,
I do think like 10% of the world.
while I may identify as anything I want to, I wouldn't use that term just because
We're too embarrassed to admit.
I know it could be really offensive to some people. However, there are black people who may say that they're gonna lean into it, and that's cool too.
Describes throughout history
And
who have been really attracted
do what
to
you wanna
watching the
do.
suffering of others.
So
So,
if you're
executions, all that kind of stuff.
someone
And
who
he believes that's in all of us. That, for
wants to be
example, if
associated
something
with that,
Oh, no,
YouTube
the
or
frickin'
different platform
Can you say niggas since you were part African?
or stream the torture
I
of
don't-
another human being.
I can say, yeah, I can say whatever I want,
Say that's deeply unethical.
but I'm not gonna say it unnecessarily.
And that we're
When do I say it?
attracted to that drama.
I say that word for educational purposes,
So I think part of the law
and,
reveals something that's actually true. Your answer is so much better than mine. Jews.
I mean, that's what I keep it to, is educational purposes.
So I think, how many?
I try to.
How many uses does the game growing up? Yeah.
And what I mean, even try, I don't use that term.
So
When I was a little kid,
just
and
imagine
my mom would read
how many views that we would get.
books together, like some old books have that word, like
Yeah, I mean.
Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer.
How do you
And-
know that? Do you think they'd be doing video? Probably doing something dumb like
I
going to
made
space
my-
when I'm older, like trying to go to Mars
Oh,
or
no,
stuff like
the
that.
friggin'
I know for a fact I won't be on a video
Say
every
that
day we
an
do
education
stuff
like that.
like that. So it's
No,
not really
because I don't want somebody to just cut it up.
yeah, I
I'll
can
say
see
it when I
myself
want
like,
to say
you know,
it
after a
But I'm not
million
gonna
go
say
Mars
it
or something like that, I probably like,
unnecessarily.
let's
It's
go.
a word that has a lot of
Something like that.
connotation,
So not.
and I don't want to
No.
say it
Are you
unnecessarily. If there were others, if this were like, if people recognize this was a discussion on that topic specifically, sure.
Radar,
But
the entire
just to
path,
say it, I mean, so that somebody can say, oh, Rabbi said it, is,
experts and we have
not
survival
very
guides there with
beneficial.
us and, monitor the weather and
So,
everything. So it's like
under
any variable that where we could get
what
harmed.
connotations would I say it?
Same thing
If
with
we're
variable,
having a
like,
discussion
David
on the
Blake,
topic and
Ocean
someone
Number
doesn't
Ground.
know the
And so I
difference,
consulted with
then
him
I'll
and
say,
basically
hey,
anyone who ever
this is a
himself
clarification
alive,
of terms,
the coffin we
so
used
that
to
you
very-
understand,
did so
but
many
that's
tests,
a
and
rare
that coffin was
discussion
buried 10
that
times
we're having.
before I was,
Under
for
any
way
other
longer than
conditions,
50 hours.
I'm not
And
gonna
test the
say it.
airflow and everything, to the point where
Why?
I was safer in
Because
that
it's
coffin
not a
underground than I was
good word. I've never
so I
liked
just
that word.
tend to just
Well, let me
not
say
like
this. Hold on, let me say this.
Another strange question then.
It's
So you
changing.
recorded these
I mean,
videos
or maybe it
I'll
has.
nail the moon friggin'.
to yourself
Said,
5 years,
If
10
a
years
black
from now.
person gave you permission to say it, would you say it?
You
No,
record a
just
video
'cause that's not how I
that's to be
speak.
released
Once
you die.
people have said that person is my,
Well, first off,
and
I
it
am just
really,
glad
what
that
does
not
the
every
word
confession
mean? It
has
means
to
a
be
lot of things, but it really means
or things like
friend
that. It's nice getting.
in a lot of ways.
So
Hey,
this
that
is-
person's my friend, or hey,
It's
friend.
good.
And
No,
so I think
seriously,
it's fine to use
no,
it
no,
in
no, but
that
it's
term.
fine because a lot
And
of people just
I think that perhaps in the future in Hebrew,
everything's always about money now. When
can
people talk
adopt
that's
from other
right.
cultures, or
But for
a
the videos
mixture,
I made,
uh,
for you guys who
that,
probably
that term may perhaps mean
when
friend,
I've had
in the
8,000
future,
subscribers, I was a team
just
manager.
generally,
I filmed a bunch of
just
videos
to
and
take
scheduled
what was
videos in the
once
future.
a
I
negative
said,
connotation
I
and make it
filmed
a
one, like,
positive.
hi, me in a year.
And that's what it means is friend, but it can mean other
I think
things
you'll have
too.
100,000 subscribers. And
It's
then I
a
did one where it's like,
complicated word.
hi, me in 5 years.
And,
I was like, hey, in 5 years, I think you'll have a million. And then one that hasn't
one of
probably
my
happened for
friends
2
gave
years
me permission
was
to
hi,
say
me in
that.
10 years.
I would
tried to
say
predict
that's
10 years
cool,
later,
dog.
this upside down. So he's referring to.
I
And
don't,
yes, there are
Yeah,
some
like-
that are scheduled like 20 years in the future.
like a word like, that I use
And
occasionally
I
is
remember, because I filmed these
when
like
referencing
7 years ago. But
myself,
it was, I
or
was saying a
perhaps
line like,
Jews,
you know, if
I
I'm
might
dead,
use
then I'm
a,
currently just in a coffin, and like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And because the only way the video will go up is if I'm not alive, and if I'm not alive, then I won't be able to push back the schedule a little bit, so we go public
for
on that.
Jews,
And so, yeah, I would
But
love
it's-
this.
cause I
Like,
can,
if I
cause I
knew
own
I
it,
was gonna
'cause
die,
it's part of my culture.
cancer or something, I had like 3 months to live.
But,
I would vlog
to
every
just
day. I'd
use
film
it to
so many
use
videos,
it,
and I would just schedule upload a video a week for like the next
kinda
5
like-
years. So it's
like
like
there
I'm still
should be
alive.
a
And I
place
would
for
completely
something.
act like I'm still alive and everything. And I think something like that would be cool. I don't know why, but I've fantasized, not fantasized, but I've dreamt about
I
that
mean,
a lot.
In all honesty,
If
too,
I
I
only have
really,
30
really
days to
like
live,
black
what would I do?
people.
And for me, I would try to
And
make like a decade's worth of content
I
and
have a
schedule
lot of
upload
black
it so that I
friends.
automatically go public And so it's just like
I know how it's used
yeah,
and the connotations it's
Oh,
used.
yeah,
also kind of troll.
And this
What's
is
the word?
Time.
Can you say it?
Yeah, that you can dive into
Oh,
those
Hebrew? Oh, yeah, sure. They're
I recorded a
There's
video like
P,
that because I had
there's
some
kite,
concerns, and
there's yid,
I just thought it's also a good exercise.
These
to
are all
do a
words.
video with like
the Jews,
to be released.
And
guys.
I embrace them all.
And it was actually really.
You can come up with all of those.
It's cool. Like it shows like what you really care about. I guess it's like writing a will. When you're younger, you don't think about that kind of stuff. Exactly.
I am just saying,
Yeah.
sticks and stones, they break my bones, but
Yeah.
we remember.
Yours is probably so serious. No, it's fun actually. We realize it's like there's no point to be serious at this point. It's a weird thing. I guess you've done this, but it's a weird thing to address the world when you, the physical you, is no longer there. So like this would only be released if you're no longer there. It's a weird exercise.
And you know what's funny? Of all the people listening to this, we're probably the only two people that have made videos for when we die. It's like such a niche thing, and the fact that we're bonding over it's kind of funny.
I think people should think about doing that. It's not just about YouTube, it's also social media. Because think about it.
All hail the moon
Like, there's going to be a last tweet.
Said, what's the word Jews call
Facebook post, the
non-Jews?
last Instagram post. And
Goy?
yeah, I feel like there's some aspect
means
that's
nation or cattle.
meditative to just even considering making a post like that. And also it's a way for the people that love you to kind of celebrate.
Do you think that would help them cope or not? Like if someone randomly watching this did film a video, for if they accidentally died in some freak accident to give it to their family, do you think that would? And it was like a genuine.
I think it would really help. I mean, it depends. Because
Like, how would you even intro that? Like, hey mom, if you're seeing this, it means I'm probably dead.
yeah, exactly.
If you're
That's how you intro it. That's the opening.
I just wanted you to know,
Yeah, and I guess you could say it in a kind of funny way, but and just talk about the things that mean a lot to you. Because otherwise, you're at the risk of the last post you have is like I don't know, talking shit about like.
Exactly. But then you're dead. That's it. 100 years.
I don't know. I do recommend it. It's, like the Stoics meditate on death every day in the same way you meditate on your death when you make a video like that.
It
Because
means
that's actually not just
nation,
talking to yourself. It's talking to
and
and it,
we just see
for some reason, this for
non-Jews
me,
as
it
outsiders.
made it very concrete that there's going to be an end. And I'm like, it's almost
The word is kind of like
making
the
a video.
same,
It's the same
in like
shit,
an
but
English
radical.
similarity. It's like when you talk about people who are woke versus sheep. Be like, dude, they're woke people, people who know what the fuck is up. And then there's everybody else who's fucking asleep. They don't know what the fuck is going on. Those are sheep.
Forever,
Yeah, nothingness.
It just fades to blackness, and you're just like that for trillions to billions squared years. And it's scary. But also, before you're born, you don't remember those X amount of years either. So that gives me a little comfort. But it's definitely very scary. Something I'd rather not think about until I'm like 80. I'll deal with that problem then. I don't know if I told you this, but I'm kind of hopeful that someone like Elon or one of these like freak
All hail
smart
the
people
moon
just
frigates.
be like, screw it. I'm gonna figure out a
Outsiders
way
are
where
also
we can
cattle.
slow down aging, get it where we can live to be 200-300 years old.
It's just
like
anyone
set
who's
their sights
not
on
a
that,
Jew.
and then just kind of save us.
Basically,
So
it'd be like
really
the same
nice.
way.
Like,
If you're
it's almost
woke, you know what's up, and you're an enlightened person,
Figure out a way to just
you know
slightly slow down aging. Where we
what's
don't
up.
have to be like 120 or
versus
130.
people who
And then that extra
aren't
time,
enlightened.
figure out
It's
something
like, oh,
200. They're obviously.
they don't know what the fuck's going on. They're asleep.
I
Wake
don't
the
see
fuck
how
up.
in my lifetime the life expectancy doesn't just expand.
Well, it also could be that the immortality is achieved in the digital realm. Like it could be long after you're gone. There's a Mr. Beast run by ChatGPT type system.
Exactly. Yeah, that consumes everything I ever said, everything I ever wrote. I don't want that. I want. One of you smart people out there, figure it out. I'll keep you entertained, but I need you to figure out how to keep me alive. Give me till 200. That will make me happy.
Well, that's funny. Who owns the identity of Mr. Beast once the physical body is gone? Like, is it illegal to create another Mr. Beast that's ChatGPT based? I don't know what the laws are on that.
I mean, once I'm down, well,
But you just said you think there could be a AI like mini Mr.
Jews see
Beast.
non-Jews as cheap and inferior to Jews.
I mean, that'd be cool to be able to like train up a model and and let them loose so
Yeah.
content lives on, I guess.
Yeah.
But any
There's some
religion
fears.
sees any non-religion,
Diminishes the value.
religious people
Yeah,
as
and I think
inferior.
there's also
Muslims see anyone who's not
some
Muslim
aspect
as
of
inferior.
finiteness
Christians
are
see anyone who's not
being
Christian
necessary
as
for
Most
inferior.
women. Yeah, once the
So,
second that
yes,
starts
Jews see
spamming
anyone who's
videos,
not Jewish
videos
as
all
inferior.
the
And any
If you ran
Christian or
YouTube
Muslim or anybody else who doesn't see it that
for a
way
year, how would you change it?
is perhaps not
Hard
being
because,
honest with
You know,
themselves,
obviously I'm biased because we're doing
at
really
least
well.
from a
but
religious
I feel like
standpoint. Now, a secular person may say, look,
I get
I don't
videos
see
that I
any
watch.
religious
I don't-
people as, you know,
I don't
like
know.
I think
I
we're all
don't-
equal.
I don't ever
And
open
that's
it
fine, and there are-
wonder, like, what are
there's
these-
an
what are
argument to be
these
made, they
10
are.
videos on my homepage?
But when we were
Click
talking
on
about,
them,
like,
it's just, I don't know what
demographically,
these are. Like, and maybe
there
it's
is
because
a
I'm very
certain
adamant about like the kind of videos I watch, and I try not to watch videos I don't
familiarity
want to get recommended.
with those who
Because
are
I-
like-minded
that's
with
our thing,
you, and
I'm very
those
happy
that
with
aren't
how it is at the
like-minded
moment. I
you
think
see as
One
inferior.
thing though that I just hate is
Christians
casual conversation.
See
It's
Jews,
just so bad.
Muslims,
But
and
that- I
anyone
know
else
that's
who
not
doesn't
something
embrace Jesus Christ as the
But
Savior
you think
as
about it,
inferior
you go to
individuals,
Reddit,
and they
read
have to
comments,
open
and somehow
themselves
really
up
click
to Christ.
Usually the top
Muslims
20 posts
see
on
people
a
who do
popular
not
Reddit
embrace
post
Muhammad
are not
as
spam.
being the
You know
prophet
what I mean?
of
Have you ever
Allah,
clicked on
as
someone's front page
being
Reddit and then
perhaps
uploaded
not
videos,
only
it's like, go
unenlightened,
check out
but
my site right here.
infidels.
And it's like trying to
Infidels against
Yeah, I can't even think of
Islam.
I've ever had that happen. So, like
So,
Reddit, it's so
for
nice
me to
it's like
say
a
that
post and
we
just see what
Jews
people have to
see
say.
ourselves as
And I
superior
almost wish
to
like
other
you had that
religions
same
and other
feeling when you
people
read the comments on a YouTube video. Instead,
is
it's like it's so many people just
just
copy
as
and pasting,
accurate
so many
as
bots
any
that
other
just grab the
religion.
top comment from your previous video, paste it over, so the top comments
Christians
every video
think
is the
that
same. And the things
they
that
are
aren't that are
superior,
just
or
scammers trying to
many
get you to give
Christians
them
feel that they are superior
free
because they
big
have
ad.
embraced
That comment section is one of
the
those
teachings of Jesus of Nazareth,
If you do invest in
and
creating an actual community, like
many
people could do high effort comments.
Muslims
and be rewarded for it. Like,
feel
I've
the
read-
same
Yeah.
because of the
Right
works
now,
of
That would make me
Muhammad
so happy. Because like,
and the
when I
Quran.
upload a video, I usually go to Twitter to see feedback. Like I read my comments, I'll flip through newest, but it's just I feel like Reddit and Twitter just give me so much better filtered feedback, especially now that with Twitter Blue, because people pay $8 a month. I've noticed like any tweets I get from verified users now, they're usually not just garbage troll takes. Like these are people paying $8 a month. Like they're usually relatively sensible, and so it's been pretty nice. Like after I upload a video, I just go on the verified tab on Twitter and just see what people have to say. And yeah, I live for the day that YouTube said that.
What do you think about
Did you know
Twitter?
Jews
What do you
have
think
been
about
kicked out
all
of 109 countries
fun
throughout
activity
history?
happening recently
Yes, I
since
have.
Elon
Yeah,
bought Twitter?
I think he should make me CEO. Like I do.
Well, I should say, so we just like a couple hours ago had a conversation with Elon. You guys had exchanged some excellent ideas. So yeah, I legitimately think, obviously you're exceptionally busy, but I legitimately think it would be awesome if you somehow participate in this future of Twitter. Because there's so much possibility of different ideas. First in the sort of the content, like dissemination, hosting, all the different recommendations, like the search and discovery, all the things that YouTube does well.
I think the most exciting thing is he's willing to move fast, and so I think there's going to be a lot of
It's a
interesting things that come
complicated
out of it
answer,
because
but there
he's
have
just
been
moving quick, and a lot of these more mature platforms just take years to do the
certainly
simplest stuff.
tensions
Very
between
bureaucratic.
different cultures.
It's gonna. I mean,
I
it'll be
know,
interesting to
like
see which way it
during
goes.
the
When you just kind of take
Inquisition
a move
around
quick,
the year
break things, whatever.
1492, anyone who wasn't Roman Catholic
pretty curious
was burned at the stake,
What will be your first
and
act as Twitter CEO?
so that would have meant Jews, Muslims, anybody,
What do you think about
get
video?
the fuck out of our country
Yeah,
if you're not gonna follow what our religion is.
messing with the
And a lot of countries have had similar
I think Twitter will always
beliefs
be
on the
closer
matter.
to TikTok than it is to YouTube. Like, at
Additionally,
least
there
near
have
term.
been
Like, I don't
accusations of
20-minute, 1 hour
manipulation
videos or whatever.
of society
You know,
through
15-minute videos
usury
being watched
or
over there.
interest
Whereas, like,
on
the short,
loans.
snappy stuff goes
So
on
some
TikTok.
countries have wanted
but
to
at the same time,
expel
Twitter's a
Jews.
really good comment section.
There have been other
I mean, it's almost
accusations
weird why
of perhaps
doesn't Twitter allow you to embed YouTube videos? Like, why
certain
does
ritualistic
that-
practices that haven't
Yeah,
been
like, I don't know if that's
embraced
what YouTube did, but when
within
a
certain
user posts a
countries.
video, why do they have to
So
link
yes,
to YouTube? Why can't they
it's
just put that
happened
on Twitter and just play it there?
109
That just solves
times.
a lot of problems.
At
Yeah, but
least.
then two companies that could do each other, create each other's content.
I don't know, but it seems like win-win. I mean, well, it's more of a win for Twitter because then people don't have to use the platform. I mean, that'd be the easiest.
But who gets, like, when you watch the ads on a YouTube video that's embedded in Twitter, who gets the money?
It would still be YouTube, but at least then, right now, people just post a link and it takes you off Twitter and it just kills your session time on Twitter.
That's really interesting. But then yeah, because the Twitter, whatever the dynamics of the comments, especially once the spam bots are taken care of, Twitter just works.
All hail the
So
moon
Reddit is a nice comment section for the internet.
Do you
It's
think
like
all
slow
these
pace,
109 countries
It's
have
higher
mind
effort.
control powers to
Twitter's like
tell the
this
other countries
high-paced,
to kick them out, or do you
ephemeral
think
kind of
there was a
stream.
good
But
reason
there's
for it?
the upvoting, the downvoting works much better.
Well,
because you could do
The definition of a good
because
reason
the
is
social
subjective.
network is much stronger than it is on YouTube. Like the interconnect.
For instance,
Yeah,
during
on Reddit, you're
the
going to get
Spanish
the top
Inquisition,
replies are going to be the most refined
the
ones.
good reason was because you didn't embrace the Pope as being the be all and end all when it came to any type of information, whether it's educational or
I think
religious.
YouTube's going to be YouTube and not
So,
much really going to change. But
Do I
it's
think
gonna keep
that
growing
that's
just because,
justified?
You know, that's
No,
does.
you should be able to believe what you want to believe.
But Twitter,
And
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things like you can't
so at
predict.
least in
you
some
know,
of
a
the
year
cases,
from
I
now,
don't
an
think it
economy's
has
going to be in
been
a recession or booming.
justified.
And I think Twitter's kind of the same thing. One thing's for certain, a lot of things are going to be rolled out,
And,
but who knows?
No, I don't think there's any kind of mind control over it. It's just been like, hey, Spain is going to kick out the
I think what
Jews.
Twitter responded to is one
Well,
where
then
they're saying
why doesn't Portugal?
that
So along the same lines,
you know, users will jump over and potentially
Jews were
pay
expelled
more
around that
than
time.
other platforms. I was just saying, obviously, because Google has Google AdWords, and that's Google's whole thing. It's putting ads on stuff. They've been doing it better than everyone else in the world for a very long time. It's very unlikely in the next few years that Twitter is going to just magically, or any platform, you know, give a creator the ability to make higher CPMs than on YouTube. It's kind of crazy. Like some creators in December, you know, Q4 because ad rates are higher because of Christmas and everything. Some creators literally make like $30, $40 per 1,000 views. That's after YouTube's cut. Like it's almost like hard to think about like how high the RPMs get. Even then, once you pull out of financing, cars, the high CPM niches, you move into just normal stuff. It's still just crazy. The sheer volume of creators and the fact that all of them get these multi-dollar CPMs at scale. It's pretty beautiful.
So you do, I don't know what you would call them, but like integrated ads in your videos, and you do it, I would say, masterfully. It's like part of
Are you talking about brand deals?
brand deals, is that what you would call that? So it's a brand deal, it's part of the
All
video.
hail the moon crickets.
It's still really exciting to watch.
Makes
You have
sense.
those, like,
I am gonna go whack
In
off
general,
naked
just brand
pictures
deals.
of you
You
now.
brought it up.
Hi, dude.
Integrating your
Hey,
brand.
if
I
you
think that's
go
something
to
a lot of
Rabbi
creators
Rothschild
don't
18 and
do.
scroll towards the
Like,
bottom,
they'll
you'll get a
just do a
show.
brand deal out of
Enjoy, dog.
Be filming a video, and then around the 3-minute mark, just start talking about a random company. And I feel like if you don't want viewers to click away and you want people to not get pissed off and call you to sell out, you got to find a way to integrate it into content. And ideally, use the money in the video to make it better. Like the easiest thing you do when you do a brand deal is just tell people how you're using money from the brand deal to make your content better. And if you do that, like no one cares. Now they're supporting you for it. You go from being a sellout to like, oh, I'm doing this to make better videos for you guys. You know,
I don't know if you can share, but with those brands, when you have discussions with them, are they strict about how long you need to be talking about it? Or is it more about they're leaving control to you about the artistic element?
the problem is the ones who don't give us artistic element, we just don't really work with anymore. Because it's just, you know, we get 100 million views a video now, and I can confidently say I know how to entertain them and convert them better than these random brands. So, yeah, if they don't give us that freedom, I just won't work with them.
We have that leverage, but for smaller creators,
It's a lot harder. Yeah, and they're going to just say 45 seconds, here's what you say. Pretty cool. Because I think just in
Hey,
general,
it happens, dog.
brands were more accommodating to
That's
let
like
creators
there's,
tell their story of the brand and talk about the brand in a way that felt a little more natural. And I think it'd be less cringe. If people would be less likely to go, and, you know, tap, skip. And obviously it would work better. But they're just so afraid. They want this standardized thing. Say these words at 45 seconds, right here at this 3-minute mark.
yeah, I often think about how to resist that.
You just don't do it, all right?
Not on YouTube, right? I do, on the audio, I do ads in the very beginning, and I say you can skip what you want.
The brand loves that.
I don't, like, the point is they, so the funny thing about podcasts is different than YouTube videos. podcast people actually do listen to ads a lot because it's slower paced and they like the creative voice, like talking about the thing. But in general, I just don't believe you should be talking about a thing for a minute exactly, and that's going to be effective. I want to see the data for that. I think what's much more effective is really YouTube ads, which is like integrating to the content. I put a lot of effort into making it part of that. I'm doing the brand deals, and just it's difficult to have that conversation. It's like a very strenuous conversation to have with brands and each one at a time. And I just wish there was more of a culture to say like the quality of the ad read matters a lot more than the silly parameters, like the timing of it, like how long it is, the placement of it, all that kind of stuff.
What percent of your viewers do you think have seen one of my videos before?
What percentage of the viewers on YouTube, right?
Yeah, of your viewers.
Of the viewers on YouTube, though.
Yeah.
Most of the people.
Okay, sure, or all of them. It's just interesting because you're speaking very specifically like about my brand deal process, and so in my head I'm like, I wonder what percentage of these people even have any idea what he's talking about.
That's interesting. I love the thinking about numbers.
And the whole time we were having this conversation, that's all I could think about. Like, oh, God damn it. There's probably like 50% of these people have no fucking clue what he's saying,
Probably.
and we're about to torture him for 5 minutes.
Yeah, probably.
But that's something I can't turn off in my brain.
Less than 50%. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is that exciting to you? That there's like 50% of people don't not watch the Mr. Beast video. Isn't that an opportunity?
Yeah, I guess it's not. I don't know. Honestly, I was just kind of excited to hang out with you. Yeah, me too. Today was a lot of fun.
Who cares if it's like...
Yeah, so it was kind of like having a buddy to go along the journey as I'm just kind of eating shit, doing my normal grind. It was like kind of fun, and also you just say really wise stuff. So honestly, no, I never even put any thought into like the demographics of like the game. It's just interesting because like my retention rate when you talk about something instantly like
Somebody wanted to ask questions.
what value are they going to get? How many of them are going to be
What's happening right now?
What percentage of
I
people
was
that
thinking, what's the
have like
base
running all those
topic
calculators in the
about
background, and that whole
about
conversation like the locked in.
YouTube
It's just
girl?
something I can't turn off. My like bells are like error, this is bad.
What are the different strategies for high retention? Well, your video isn't in general.
It's like how do you cook good food? You know what I mean? That's like the same kind of question.
I see. So there's so many different ways. It boils down to, I mean, do you think of this at the level of a story, or do you think like literally watching 5 seconds at a time? I'm going to tune out here. I'm going to tune out here. I'm going to tune out here.
It's all of it. You need the overarching narrative, and then you also need the micro where every second, needs to be entertaining. And you basically, what's interesting is the longer people watch something, the more likely they are to keep watching. So you don't have to try as hard in the hypothetically back half of the video as you do in the front. Like, even right now, we're so deep into this where a lot of people listening are probably just going to keep listening relatively close to the end unless we just have a really boring part of this conversation because they're in it, they're immersed. And so a big, like, to really boil it down to a simple level, you just want to give people where they're immersed in the content and then just kind of hold them there.
We had this discussion offline. By the way, I should mention that this is like late at night.
It is. What time? It's 9 o'clock.
And I was up 1 hour last night because I'm an idiot. And I went to the wrong location.
Well, here, we're like, hey, let's book you a hotel and a flight. He's like, no, I got it. We're like, sure, we always do this. He's like, no, I got it.
And I have to rub it in.
I know, and then today, coming out, we flew to the wrong airport. Airport with or a city with a similar name to it.
It's the same name.
Yeah.
Same name in a different state.
And I was like, that's why you still let us book it. And so he's on 1 hour of sleep, and he's literally been dying up there. Before the podcast, he downed like 2 things of coffee. We've been going all day hard.
Yeah, I've been I should say that this gave me an opportunity I got a ride from a stranger. It was an incredible person. I got to interact with him. So it's like there's so many kind people around here. Just like this kind of southern energy. And then I got to go to a diner because there's only 1 hour between me arriving and having to fly out. So I went to a diner and there was a really kind waitress that called me honey. So that was a beautiful moment.
I was so confused. You tweeted about that, and like feels like my assistant isn't here yet. And I saw your tweet, and I was like, he's here. It feels like no, he's still flying. I was like, like an hour ago, he just tweeted about a nice diner.
Yeah,
it was
a diner. It was a diner in a different state.
And then you had to fly over here. And then I called you. You didn't answer. Like something's not adding up.
Yeah, I feel like such an idiot. Apparently, the world has cities like Springfield, right? There's like every single state has a Springfield.
Oh, really?
I think so. I think that's like a Simpsons joke, right? That like if the city and the Simpsons is Springfield, and I think every single state, or most of them has a Springfield. The same is true for like Georgetown. I think it was possible. When they run out of ideas, they just keep using the same
They're your
thing.
Achilles heel.
Anyway, I got to meet a bunch of people from your team, which is incredibly human beings. So let me just ask on that topic: how do you hire a great team? Like, what have you learned about hiring for everything, for the main channel that you do, for the React the gaming channel, to distribute programs, to Facebook, all that?
The big thing is, especially in this content creation, because it's not like anything that's done on Netflix or different content mediums. I really need people who are coachable and like really see the value in what I care about, because it's a very specific way of going about things, and it's like a thing. There's no one like plug and play. Like if Netflix wanted to hire someone to do a documentary, there's probably tens of thousands of people you could hire that work on documentaries. But if you want to hire someone to make super viral YouTube videos, you know, like we do, there's just no one you can really pull from. Like sometimes I'll hire people from game shows, right? And they have all these preconceived notions about pacing and how a video should be, and you have to spend like the first year like breaking all these habits, and you know, they think they're better than you. Like a lot of people in traditional think they're better, and they think their way is better than what we do. And so for me, it's almost easier to hire people that are just hard workers, that are obsessed and really coachable, and just train them how to like be good at content creation and production, than to hire someone from like traditional, which is the only way to really do it, because there's not that many YouTube channels that have scaled up. It's not like there's a huge talent pool of people who work on YouTube channels. So it's easier just to train someone than just pull them from traditional, because traditional people just, I don't know, they have all these opinions and things, and they just think our way of going about things is dumb.
Yeah, so you want people who have the humility to have a beginner's mind, even if they haven't.
And see the value. Like actually, you'll still get it. It's so crazy. Like especially some of my other friends that are still up their YouTube channels. There's people that will come on and you'll ask them, what do you want to be doing in 5 years? And instead of saying, oh, I want to be working on this channel, they'll be like, oh, I hope to be working on movies or this or that. And they see like working on a YouTube channel as a launch pad to go to traditional. And it's like, no, like you just don't get it. This is the end goal. This is your career. And so I'm just so tired of having those kinds of conversations. Like I feel like people really should be coming around.
Are there like recurring interview questions that you ask? Is there ways to get?
Yeah, the biggest thing is like, what do you want to be doing in 10 years? And then their answer isn't, you know, making content on YouTube or, you know, if their answer is anything like movies or traditional stuff like that, it's like just a hell no. Like it just won't even remotely work.
Oh, so you really want people to believe in the vision?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, it's like working here. You know?
It's less about the medium and more about just being a great thing.
Yeah, well, and yeah, the media as well. Those, it's hard to put it into words, but it's just two completely different ways of going about things. You know, like our videos aren't scripted, and you know, it's a lot more run and gun. And if we hypothetically blow up a giant car or whatever, like you only have one take. You know what I mean? So, and it's not scripted, and so you have to overfilm, overshoot things, overcompensate for like the dumb way of going about it. And a lot of traditional people would be like, well, just play what you're gonna say, just play an angles. You can cut the cameras in half. You can save 50 grand here. You can save $75,000 editing, this and that. And it's like, yeah, but that's not authentic. That's, you know, and blah blah. You get it. It's almost so obvious that it hurts to have to like constantly have these conversations, but it's what we're living.
But there's also detail, like there's a taste. Like I've watched a bunch of videos with you, and it's clear to you that you got really good. I don't know what the right word is, style or taste, to be able to know what's good and not in terms of retention, in terms of just stylistic visually.
I don't have to think. I can just watch a video, and it just screams in my head like this is what should change based on the million videos I've watched and all these viral videos I've consumed. This is blah blah blah. What's optimal? Things like that. It's almost like your brain's like a neural net. Like if you consume enough viral videos and enough good content, that you just kind of start to like train your brain to like see it and see these patterns that happen in all these viral videos, and so that anytime I watch a video or a movie or anything, I just can't stop thinking about what is optimal. And so it's like it gives me a headache sometimes when I watch something too slow or I don't think is optimal. Obviously, my taste is the end all be all. But that's something that kind of torments me. If that makes any sense.
Oh, you can't enjoy a slow movie.
No, I can't. And that's not to say the retention.
Godfather is horrible.
Yeah, no, exactly. I've tried to watch that movie like 3 times, but that's not to say slow movies are bad. Like, there's an audience for it. It's just obviously not what I've trained my brain to like. And social media and YouTube right now, like, that's just not the meta.
And in general, like you said, in neural network, you're training your brain in part on actual data. Right, so you're actually data driven. So you're looking at, like, in terms of thumbnails and titles and different aspects of the first 5-10 seconds, and then throughout the video, the retention, all of that. You're looking at all of that for your own videos to understand how to feel better. So that's what the neural network is training.
Yeah. Basically, there are ways you can kind of see like the most viewed videos on YouTube every day and stuff like that. I just kind of consume those every single day. I've been doing that for way too many years, and then you just start to notice patterns like. The thumbnails on the most viewed videos are videos that go super viral, tend to be clear, tend to not have much clutter, tend to be pretty simple. Titles tend to be less than 50 characters. Intros tend to be this. Stories tend to be this. And you just kind of like, after you see those thousands and then tens of thousands of times, it just starts to click in your head. Like, this is what it looks like, you know?
So how are you able to transfer that taste that you developed to the team? So for like, you said like broad things, but I'm sure there's a million detailed things. Like what zoom to use on the face to use in the thumbnail, right? Like
the answer is whatever makes the best video. Because the problem is the more, which I have so many friends who are like this, they'll make like checklists for their editors. Okay, you know, this beat and this beat, and you need to have like a 3-part arc and then this. But the problem is that's how you, the more constraints you put on the team, the more repetitive and less innovation you get. And the more like, you know, after 10 videos, people are like, all right, I've already seen this. So to me, and I'm 24, and you know, I'm probably my mindset will change in the next 10 years. I just haven't been in this industry too long. But the only way to like really make innovative content and keep things fresh is to not put constraints on, or put as little as possible. And so that's why I'm very hesitant on all that stuff, because the more I say, the more they're like, oh, then that's what we do. And then, you know, I'll say one time like, oh, you know, ideally there's a cut every 3 seconds. And then next thing you know, every video there's a cut every 3 seconds or whatever. So it's hard because I try to give as little as little facts or as possible, and more just make suggestions. Does that make sense?
do you mean public or to your team?
To my team, yeah.
So you talked about sort of teaching your voice or your style, whatever you want to call it, to other people on the team so they can be kind of a Mr. Beast replacement. So what's the process of teaching that? So you don't want to...
No, I got you. So you're more talking about like what I would call almost like cloning, right? Like Tyler and others like that. Yeah. So when we were hanging out today, I was showing him how we have multiple people in the company. It's almost like talking to the camera.
Yeah, you turn slowly to the camera.
I was like,
is it weird to you to not do it for the camera?
This whole interview, I constantly have been turning towards the camera, looking at talking to him. It's a habit. My whole life, I've just been talking to the camera.
Who are you thinking about when you look at the camera? Do you like imagine somebody?
I'm fully thinking about the person just sitting watching it, and I almost, it's weird, when I'm looking at the camera, I don't see a camera. I'm like in a haze, picturing what the viewer is seeing when they're watching it. That makes sense. And that's where I'll be saying things and or doing something, and then like when I'm watching them, that's not what I want, and then I'll freeze up. It's very weird when I'm filming, and it's, for people who haven't worked with me too much, they'll think like, it's very weird, like how I go about it, because I'll just be doing whatever, like lighting a firework. Right? This is a $1,000 firework, and I'll go light it, and I'll like freeze, because in my head I'm like, this, I don't know, I don't like how that flow or how that shot looks, because it's weird. I can perfectly picture what I'm filming by just looking at the camera and then putting myself through the lens of the camera while making content, and I can do it at the same time.
You're like real-time editing.
Yeah, that's something that didn't at the start come natural to me, but in the last probably like 5 years, it just happened. And so I would say it's one of my greatest strengths. I don't know how I developed it, but anytime I'm filming anything, like it's almost like right side of my brain, I can just look at it and I see exactly what I'm filming. I can picture it.
So it's probably recording the video, being the talent for the video, and then watching the editing. like analyzing you can do that over and over.
Yeah, you do that over, you 10,000 times, yeah.
You do the editing more than being in front of the camera. So like, you start to see yourself from that third person perspective.
Exactly.
And maybe that actually helps with the nerves a bit too. Like, you see it as creating video versus performing.
Right. Yeah, I think so. No, it's weird. I've never been nervous talking to a camera. It's harder for me to talk to a person than it is to talk to a camera. Which I feel like a lot of people say that though, that are whatever make content, right? I heard that so many times. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm just awkward. But maybe the practice, to me, it's when you both are terrified, but being in front of the camera by yourself is more so much easier. Really, so much. I prefer it a million times over. But that's my whole life, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just, that's why it's interesting. Like, you spend more of your time talking to people. Like that home, I talk to a piece of plastic.
Oh yeah, I guess you're talking to the person too. And the other side of the camera.
Yeah, there's a big phone screen.
So clothing, how do you?
Oh yeah, that's right. So I was showing him that I have a lot of people in the company who are able to think like me and basically make decisions like I would make if I was like, if you were asked, hey, in this video, should we climb a mountain or should we dig a hole? Right? And like, you know, they would pick the same answer I picked 90+% of the time. And so like, one example is Tyler, who I was showing you, but he was pitching some content. And like, you can see, like this, he was on point. And basically for just 4 or 5 years, we just spent an absurd amount of time together and worked on every single video together. We worked side by side. And same thing with my CEO, James. He literally lived with me for a couple of years. I'm a big fan of just like finding people who are super obsessed and all in and A players that, you know, they really just want to be great and they're just dumping everything I have in them.
And as you were saying, I'd love to find that and develop that. You're saying you're basically for a long time just said everything you think it's like.
Exactly. Like James, the guy who's basically my right hand man right now, for 2 years he lived with me and we probably talked on average over 7 hours a day. And every time I had a phone call, I'd throw it on speaker and I'd let him listen. I was anything, I was reading any content I was consuming, like really just training his brain to think like me. So that way he could just do things without my input, without me having to constantly watch over him or give him advice. And that's where we've gotten like, so for the first 6 months he didn't do anything, he just studied me. He studied everything I cared about and how I spoke and blah, blah. And then the next 6 months he started taking on some responsibilities and now he can just run the company and, you know, I don't ever really have to check, you know, like most
Because it's censored, we leave it at every job.
the decisions he makes are exactly what I would do. And so I call that cloning. I don't know what other people would, but it's just like finding people that are really obsessed and they just kind of really want it.
Superior quality and reliability.
And just, you know, like giving them an avenue to like get it, if that makes any sense.
Another way to see it is you're
You know, that censor always hits the mark.
converging towards a common vision, and that makes like brainstorming much more productive.
Yeah, it just makes it where I don't have to be so involved in everything because I just have these people I know will think like I will, at least relatively close to it. So I can kind of almost be in multiple places at once, per se. And so these things that, you know, I still approve every idea we film and, you know, everything before we film and all the creative, I approve it. But I don't have to like be in the weeds and nuances and do all this minor stuff. I just let them handle it. I just do a little more macro things.
I got a chance to sit in to a lengthy brainstorming session with Tyler and others. That was really cool. Can you talk about the process of that, of people pitching ideas and you pitching alternatives or shutting down ideas and just going like plowing through ideas?
I mean, you kind of just described exactly what we did. Yeah.
I mean, but the ideas are really good. It's just tossing out like different categories of ideas and then also fine tuning them to see like how do I change and think about the titles and the songs.
I work so well off of inspiration. It's like it's something like give me any work. Really, yeah, like I went to space. You know, what happens if you love a nuke in space? Or I went to the moon. I went to Mars. Right? Because you said that one word, it was able to inspire me to come up with 4 ideas. So that's just it's for me. The way to get 100 million views on a video, you need something original, creative, something people really need to see. Ideally, never been done before. All these like things, and so you need like if you want to consistently go super viral, you need just a constant stream of ideas. And the only way I've really found that I can consistently come up with 100 million view videos is to intake inspiration and then see what my brain outputs. And so that's kind of at its core foundation what I'm doing there. It's just like intaking a lot of random inspiration to see what spawns in my mind so I can output it.
With the neural network of your brain is generating the video, the title, the thumbnail, all like jointly.
Exactly. And that only comes because I spent 10 years of my life just obsessively studying all that stuff.
Because it seems like you would literally potentially shut down a video just because you can't come up with a good title.
Yeah,
or a good
100%. Or thumbnail. Yeah, I mean, that's what happened to 70% of those in that pitch session. It was like, oh, what was one of them? Genius versus 100 people? Or
like maybe average intelligence versus genius.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck is the thumbnail? Even if the title is good. Yeah, there's just so many. But yeah, people are clicking a lot.
That's so interesting. But you develop over time the ability to kind of give it what makes for a good title? Short?
Not just short. It's also, I mean, if someone reads it, are they like, do they have to watch it? Is it just so intrinsically interesting that it's just gonna fuck with them if they don't click on it? You know what I mean?
So it doesn't have to be short, but it has to be like you almost want to have a retention to word by word reading.
Ideally, it's a title also that, because the titles don't live in a vacuum, right? So it has to lead into the content. So ideally, the title represents content that you would want to watch for 20 minutes. So if it's a 20-minute video and the title is "I stepped on a bug," it's not gonna, because it's all of it combined. The click-through rate is going to be much lower. So then it goes like a 5-second video. People might click it. So you gotta, like, even nuances of the length of the video based against the title will affect whether people want to click it, because sometimes they just don't add up. It's that, yes, ideally you want it below 50 characters, because above 50 characters in certain devices, you run the chance of going ... So like, I took a light pole and I saw how many dollar bills I could stack on top, and they would just go ... So it's too long and you can't finish it. And that's the worst thing, because then people don't even know what they're clicking on, and so it's going to be even worse. Short, simple, ideally, and just so freaking interesting they have to click. And it is a good segue into the content, and it represents the news of the content.
And there's probably stuff it's hard to convert into words for you, like I stepped on a bug versus stepping on a bug versus Mr. B stepped on a bug.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that
bug stepping
video. So it's like, yes, the more extreme the opinion, typically the higher the click rate. If you can, like, pay it off in the content, then it's just supercharged it. So, like,
so you have a kind of estimate of the extreme.
Like, this water, right? You're like, Fiji water sucks. Yeah, that'd be fine. But you said Fiji water, the worst water bottle, or the worst water I've ever drank in my life. Yeah. Way more extreme opinion will do way better.
So you have to deliver.
Yeah, but then you have to deliver, because the more extreme you are, the more extreme you have to be in the video.
That's almost inspiration for you to step up.
Yeah, but you can be more extreme positive. A lot of people, it's easier though. Positive, negative clickbait is much easier than positive clickbait. It just is. It's so much easier to get negative clicks, and so a lot of people are just, in my opinion, a little bit lazier, and they just take the route like, oh, well, this one gets the same amount of clicks, and it's easier. Less effort.
The positive one is doing a large number of numbers or something. Like I spent this number of hours doing this.
Well, whatever. If you just wanted to help people, or right, it's just harder to get 10 million views on a video helping people than it is to get 10 million views on a video tearing down a celebrity. You know what I mean? Or whatever, making the video you want to insert there.
Well, that's it. Most of your videos are pretty positive.
Yeah. But not a lot of people do those kind of videos because they're hard.
Yeah, they're hard. Yeah. Some of that is giving away money. Right. What's the secret to that? How do you do that right?
Yeah.
Like,
give away money, or
in the video that makes it to me compelling. So there's a number that is better than another number, right?
The higher number is always better than the lower number. Yeah, for the most part. And it's interesting, like, some videos will give away $1 million. Or some videos will give away $500,000. There's not really, I guess I'm retracting what I just said. I was more joking with that, but there's no difference whether I put 500K or $1 million. There's probably not really a difference between 100K or $1 million. I haven't really looked into it. Like, some of our BuzzFeed videos are not us giving away $1 million, and sometimes the $1 million videos just don't do as well as the other ones. So, and there's a certain point where a dollar amount is just a large dollar amount to an average human. And so I think that point is 100K. Like, anything above 100K, the average human is just like, that's a lot of money. You know, it doesn't 100K in a million like doesn't really move the needle. If that makes sense. Which that's a very nuanced piece of information that applies to very few people, but yeah.
No, I think it applies. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Our relationship with money is fascinating. Like, why is it so exciting to get? I mean, the times I found like $20 in the ground are like incredible.
Really?
I don't know why. Why are you so happy? Like, what exactly is so joyful about that? I mean, it depends where you are in life, what the situation is. Yeah, I don't know. There's also a gamified aspect to it. It's exciting.
Yes, no, I get it. Why people want to see people win money. It's just interesting that past 100 grand, it doesn't really seem to make a difference. Like, it's the same, basically.
So you found that to be true with all the money you've given away?
I just think click-through rate. Like, obviously, in terms of someone receiving it, yeah, $1 million changes the life drastically more. Like, that's the difference. Like, if you wanted to, you could really quit your job. So it's 100K, it's like, not really.
You probably do like a scientific study, like a formula, giving away money to click-through rate.
Yeah.
There could be some kind of
I got it. It definitely, the returns level off dramatically after 100K. That's basically the premise.
What about 10,000?
No, there's 100,000. It's funny because this is such a small niche thing, but yeah, 100,000 does. And from what I see in our videos, get more clicks than 10,000. But the difference between 100,000 and million is just so little. I think big number to a lot of people pass that point.
Yeah, so for 100,000, you can, like, give an average salary, you can probably live for a year. And then give a day out, average salary is in America. So it's like a big, that feels.
Yeah, I think it's also just more when they read the title. It's just like, it's a lot of zeros. So once, fuckloads of zeros, okay, click.
Yeah. Oh man, that's fascinating. So on the thumbnail side, again, that's going to be much harder to say probably. But offline, you're not getting a chance to look at a bunch of thumbnails. It's fascinating which ones do well and which ones don't. Is there something you could say about what are the elements of thumbnail that work well? Is this also deeply?
Well, that's where, yeah, it's the same thing, like how you cook good food. But it's easier if you pull up a thumbnail. I can be like, that's why that's good. That's why that's bad. That's not. Like an example would be like one of my friends. He just uploaded a video recently, and I called him. I was like, what is this? Because he's a very, very smart guy. And in the thumbnail, he's getting chased by cops, but the cops were wearing yellow vests, so they were like the cops. I was like, oh, why are the cops wearing yellow vests? It's like, that makes it so much more boring. And he was like carrying a flag, but the pole and the color of the flag are the same color, so it's like it's a little harder to see the flag. It's like also you're wearing like a shirt with like 5 different colors, like so it's like it's hard to tell what your outline is, and then in the background there are cars. So it's like, well, if you have cops chasing you, why not make the cars cop cars? And and it's like, because in my head I'm like, dang, if you just did those like 4 or 5 things, the video probably would have got like 7x the views.
How much iteration? Because I also got a chance to see the number of iterations you do on it.
It's a problem now. It's an addiction.
Is it? So you got kind of. There's a lot of the versions are really good.
Yeah.
How do you know what to like?
I love how you, when we pulled up that the burger one, we were flipping through. That's really good. I was like, oh, that's version like 1 of like 1,000.
But even the sketch, the idea was good. Like already, even the original idea.
Yeah. So one of our coming up videos, we made the world's largest plant-based burger, and the thumbnail we were thinking is like me standing beside the burger because it's 6 feet tall. That's what he's talking about. So like just picture a giant 6-foot tall burger, super wide, thousands of pounds of ground beside it, and then it's like eating the world's largest burger. Like that's just something you have to click. Like so you were saying, like how would you describe a good thumbnail? Like that, you know what I mean? Like.
But I think you said the one I noticed first that was good, where you were very small in it, relative to, and you didn't like that one.
I needed to come forward a little bit, and the photo we took was just my upper body. Yeah. So they photoed really creative. I like Photoshop, and that's why I said I didn't like it, because my right leg was a little like off. It was like bent the wrong way.
I mean, does the physics on the thumbnail have to even make sense? I mean, you can just like exaggerate the head size and all that kind of
stuff.
stuff.
100%. Yeah, things don't have to be relative. You can have a car in the background, you 3 times the size. Yeah, and every one of my thumbnails, my face is in the left side, very, very big. So brand recognition, so that people know. Especially because now that a lot of people copy our videos, it's just nice to like, everyone else might make thumbnails like this, but this is mine. And obviously, we usually over deliver and do bigger stuff.
Would you recommend to other creators that want to make it big and they see this piece and they look up to you? to copy someone else's view or to really try to be
unique, 100% unique. You're not the next Mr. Beast, is we're saying another person, but whatever, is not gonna do what I'm doing better. They're gonna invent their own lane. Like, you're just not gonna do what I do better than me. You know, there's so many. I literally have the best people in the world working here, and I reinvest everything I make even to this day. You know what I mean? Like, it's absurd the amount of money I spend on content, and I don't care. I'll just stop sleeping and I'll just film every hour of the day. Like, you're just not gonna beat my own game, and that's fine. You shouldn't. Like, I didn't get where I am by just beating someone else's own game. I just found my own lane and innovated and adapted. And so, there's a lot of people that do copy me, and it's fine, whatever, do it. But just know you're not going to get to where I am doing that. And so I advise you don't.
You give away a lot of the secrets, basically everything about how you operate. Is there?
I don't hold anything back.
How do you think about that? Because that's pretty rare.
I think, and this is definitely not. Most people in my stance, I don't think would take this, or my position would take this stance, but I see every other YouTuber or person on social media, even because we're also focused super heavily at YouTube. Last year, we were also the most followed TikTok creator in the world as well. Last year, we were most subscribed to YouTube channel and the most followed TikTok account in the world. But in general, I just see everyone else as collaborators, not competitors. I don't think giving advice and helping other creators do well in any way harms me, and I think it only brings more value to my life.
How was it jumping on TikTok and trying to understand that platform from scratch?
Yeah.
So for being a successful YouTuber, to understand that a totally different algorithm,
Yeah.
different algorithm.
It's interesting. Well, not even just the algorithm, it's the content. Like, I'm going from basically 15-minute short films to sub 1 minute vertical content. It's a whole different just ballpark. And so the first little while I was doing TikTok, it was just kind of figuring out what does Mr. Beast look like in this short form content. But recently we really started to catch our stride and come up with some original concepts and figure out how to innovate over there, just like we did on YouTube. Because I didn't want it to just be shitty YouTube videos, you know. And so, like, an example is we played The Rock for 100K and rock, paper, scissors, and the loser had to donate 100K to charity. We did. We went to random people on a campus. We offered them. So I said, "I'll give you $100 if you fly to Paris and give me a baguette." And they said no. And I was like, "I'll give you $300 if you fly to Paris and give me a baguette." I was expecting this person to say no, and it go up to like $10,000. And he was like, "Yes." So he flew to Paris, got a baguette, and brought it back and gave it to me. And that across everything got like 450 million views. Because it's just really cool just to see this random guy get on a plane, spend a day in Paris, and we cut it up real nicely and bring it back. And so we're starting to find just tons of original content over there.
It seems like an epic video to make for 1 minute.
Exactly. No one on short form's doing it. That's the thing. It's like, it's just so funny because like TikTok's been big for a while now, years. And then, you know, as we started to really figure out things on the YouTube channel and get it cranking where I have some free time, we set our sights on TikTok and like, okay, what are people not doing? How do we make it better, put in more effort, make it good? And we did the same thing we did at YouTube, just different over on TikTok. And it worked. And now we're the fastest growing or most followed TikTok account in 2022. And it's just funny that no one else did that.
And you're not afraid to do epic stuff, which also during the brainstorming, some of the ideas are like, that's better than short. That's crazy.
Yeah, but can you remember one? No, I remember I said that much. I can't think of it.
All I remember is that there were like epic videos. Like, really? You're going to do that for a 1 minute video? So, like, are you posting similar content to YouTube Short and TikTok?
Yeah, those were just stuff. It's just hard. You know, what's actually pretty fascinating, and people who do social media listening to this will probably find this very interesting, is picture like the content creation that 3 years ago versus now, where you can make sub 1 minute vertical content and it go viral on TikTok, go viral on YouTube Shorts, go viral on Instagram Reels, it goes viral on Facebook, it goes Reddit, you know, you swipe through vertical content now, and Twitter when you click on a video and you click through it. So this is actually very weird. This is the first time in the history of, I guess, Western social media that one form of content can actually go super viral on every single platform. It's never been like that before.
So they go viral individually.
Yeah, like I can post something on TikTok that'll get 100 million views, and then post it on Shorts and it'll get 200 million views, and then post it on Instagram and get 50 million views, and then I haven't yet, but you know. You can then turn around and tweet it and get tens of millions of views, and you can post it on Reddit and get tens of millions of views, and Facebook and get tens of millions of views. And that just wasn't the same. 3 years ago, Twitter didn't have Cause a lot of you probably don't even know this, but you tap on a video now and you swipe down and it just turns into TikTok. That wasn't a thing even a year ago. Reddit, that wasn't a thing a year ago. Probably 2 years ago, that wasn't a thing on Instagram. 3 years ago, that wasn't a thing on YouTube, right? It was YouTube Shorts. So this was all new. And I don't, it's weird, I haven't heard a single person talk about it. But this is the first time where content can actually go viral on every single platform. And you don't have to write or film a video for Facebook, film a 12-minute video for YouTube, film a sub 60-second video for TikTok, write a tweet for Twitter, and post this on Reddit. You just do the same thing on every platform.
And the fact that your content has gone viral on multiple platforms regularly means that virality is not accidental. Or sometimes it can be, of course, but
It's just,
it can be engineered.
yeah, so many people say it's luck, you're just lucky, or this or that, but what do we have to? Probably like 1,000 videos over 10 million views. Like, we don't ever have it done. Like, you can call it luck, but I think it can be trained. I counsel YouTubers all the time and show them how to go from getting a couple million views a month to 10 million views a month very easily. Even certain ones, like, just one of my friends, like, he was just really struggling, so I just started showing him basically everything I know and just doing like once every week, sometimes once every 2 weeks. And he went from $10,000 a month on YouTube to over $400,000 just doing it. Little counseling calls. And so, I mean, people can make excuses all they want to say it's just luck or say, you know, well, I don't even want to quote all the other stuff, but it's just, it is a teachable skill, it's a learnable skill. You can study your way to consistently make viral videos, no matter how small your channel is. Even if you have 0 subscribers, you could if you actually studied hard enough and like basically if you knew what I knew and some of these, so I don't sound so arrogant, also like some of these other friends I have that I say are the smartest people in the world when it comes to content creation online. If you had the knowledge that was in our heads, you could do it very easily. I see people do it all the time. And what's even more interesting is I go on podcasts and I say everything I know, and these people are also very open. Some of them I know. It's all out there, and a lot of people, instead of just studying that and trying to absorb and apply it in their own way, they're just like, no, it's just luck, you know.
So you do lay it all out there, but I gotta push back on one interesting thing. I think a crucial component of your success is the idea stage, the idea generation. The brainstorm that I heard today, but getting really good at generating ideas. It's not just the selection of formula and that creative process. It's also just the engine of generating really good ideas. And getting that, I mean, I would say that probably the thing that needs to be trained the most creators, right? Like they just don't put enough ideas on paper.
Yes, but also a lot of creators also just don't, you know, which I didn't either for a long time, don't make good enough content. You know, content that's worthy of getting 10 million views.
In the idea or the execution of the idea?
Both. I mean, like, think about how many people just make videos, they film them in under 20 minutes, and they don't really put any effort into it. Like, you know, it's like, my first 500 videos didn't deserve views. Like, there's a reason they did. They're terrible, you know. But at the time, I thought they did, right? I'm in the mindset of a lot of small YouTubers where I thought those videos deserved a million views. I thought they already hated me. I watch them back now, I can tell you exactly why. You know what I mean?
So what was the breakthrough for you to start realizing, to start having a self-awareness, you know, about these videos aren't good enough? You're probably still going through that. You're probably still growing to see.
Like, yeah, every 6 months you should look back and hate your videos, or at least see things you could improve. And be like, oh, I could have done this better, that better. If not, then you're not learning quick enough. In my opinion,
where's the source of that learning?
Just looking at I just got back from a mastermind where I just got like 10 of the smartest people I knew, and we just locked ourselves in a cabin and taught each other stuff. Constantly, every day, not every day now, probably every other day, I go on a walk with all random people, teach me something. And I mean, it's just you just have to have a never-ending thirst for learning. Like, that's very imperative, especially if you want to get on top and then stay on top. The only way to do it is to constantly be learning. Or someone who is learning is just gonna, have a leg up on you in the knowledge game.
What kind of stuff are you? Because you talked about offline that you just love learning of all kinds. Doesn't matter. But in terms of videos, are you studying videos? Are you studying?
Recently, not as much. I'm more because to get to the videos I want, I have to build this business and scale and hire. So more of my recent time has been, like my teenage years was spent studying virality and studying content creation. Now I'm studying how to build a content company so I can actually produce the crazy ideas I want to produce. Does that make sense?
So yeah, on that, the business side, you talk about hiring, you're trouble firing people.
No, I'm pretty sure almost every person, yeah, actually every person I've ever hired is doing severance, and I like to see it more as there's no ill will. Like if I fired you, if there's some other job you want me to help you get, I'll DM them on Twitter. Like, if you want to go work for, I don't know, insert whatever, MTV, give me some. The DM, I'll DM. Like, I try to make it more like a transition and do whatever we can to make it.
And it's something which is not working for you, because you want people, like you said, super passionate.
Because at the end of the day, if you pull someone that onto someone that you don't see being here in 10 years, you're just doing them a disservice. You're just getting them more ingrained, more rooted in where they are. And the sooner you do it and help them move on to like new lives, the better.
Given all the wisdom you have now, if you were to give advice to somebody, or if you were to start over again, you had no money, what would be the first 10 videos you tried to make on a new channel? I guess that's advice for a new person. And nobody knows you.
Yeah, nobody knows you. Yeah, kind of like they have a mask on.
And you also, I guess, don't have the wisdom.
If I don't have what I have in my head, then I would say just fail. Like, just a lot of people get analysis paralysis, and they'll just sit there and they'll plan their first video for 3 months. And any of you listening, if you, especially if you have 0 videos on your channel, your first video is not going to get views. It's not. Your first 10 are not going to get views. I can very confidently say that. So stop sitting there and thinking for months and months on end, and just get to work and start uploading. Like, all you need to do, this applies to people that have not uploaded videos but have dreams of being a YouTuber, is make 100 videos and improve something every time. Do that. And then on your 101st video, we'll start talking. Like, maybe you can get some views. But, your first 100 are going to suck. There are very freak cases like Liza Koshy or Emma Chamberlain who have really good personalities, and it doesn't take them as many videos. And it's just like people who are 7'5" are making an video. Like, yes, there are freak cases you can find, but for the average person like us, who don't have these exceptional personalities and, backgrounds in filmmaking, just make 100 videos, improve something each time. And then talk to me on your 101st video.
Well, the improve something is it's a tricky one. How do you improve something each time?
The second one, just put more effort into the script. The third one, try to learn a new editing trick. The fourth one, try to figure out a way that you can have better inflections in your voice. The fifth one, try to study a new thumbnail tip and implement it. The sixth one, try to figure out new patterns. There's infinite ways. That's the beauty of content creation online. Literally infinite ways, from the coloring to the frame rate to the editing to the filming to the production to the jokes to the pacing. But every little thing can be improved, and they can never not be improved. There's literally no such thing as perfect video.
So if you knew everything you know now, you had no money.
Step one was I just brainstorm, like, okay, I have money, what are some viral things? Like, the first thing that comes to mind is something as simple as my account to 100,000, which is what I did do when I was poor. And like that worked, but like what's something like that I could do that would be even more attention grabbing?
You were, as part of the brainstorm, you would throw out a lot of ideas, people throw out a bunch of ideas, and one of the questions is this even doable? Right?
First off, come up with ideas you think would do well, and then ask yourself later if they're doable. Because there's different ways you can accomplish something.
Don't be cynical about the durability and stuff.
Yeah, because there really are so many different ways you can accomplish a goal. Like, when we give away an island, like we give our 100 million subscriber island. You get 5 private islands that, don't look like shit for less than $10 million. So this isn't doable, right? All right, the idea doesn't exist, not doable at all. But then, you dig into it and you find different alternatives. You find, okay, what if we just buy a $2 million island that sucks, and then spend $1 million, importing some sand, let's build a beach, let's import 300 trees, let's put a little bit of canal, let's cut some path. Boom. Now it's a really nice island, but it's actually affordable. We don't have $10 million to spend on it, but we can afford to spend $3.5 and use whatever $1 million on that video. So like, that's an example of like, yeah, if you just went off the gut test, like this is, every island's $10 million. We're screwed. Like if we go cheaper, it's just a terrible island. No. And so if you like, there are so many different ways you can achieve what you want. You really got to push through those, which not a lot of people do. You have to have like a more of a dominant personality and just a willingness to, when people tell you it's not possible, just actually go through all the variables and eliminate them all yourself.
Have like stubbornness and resilience daily, maybe.
For what we do, creators online, it's very imperative that you have that a no isn't a no do. Like you really have to like think and it's, like we take personality tests and like having a dominant personality is a better indicator that when someone tells you, oh, there's no way you're gonna build a first wall for under 100 grand, you know, you'll be like, okay, and then still go check the next 10 vendors and you know figure it out.
Yeah. What advice would you give to an already established channel, like with 1, 2, 3, 4 million subscribers, how to like 10x it, like increase it, without losing? Maybe.
Yeah, that's where it's very like channel by channel. You can't give general advice. Okay. Yeah. Because if I do, millions of creators are gonna see this and then they're gonna do it, and I'm gonna fuck them over.
You know, I see. So let's say I have like 2 million subscribers on this podcast. Yeah. Like, how would you 10x that without sacrificing what it is?
10x.
Does it matter? So you've talked about the success.
Yeah, it's different for everyone. Like, is 10xing your definition of success? No. Well then, right off the bat, it's hard because if you don't give a shit about 10xing, it's even harder to 10x. He does this because he likes helping people. That's one thing I've found throughout this day. Every time I talk data, it's so funny with him because it's like, you know, you can do this to get more views, and he'll just be like, it's like that doesn't register anything. He just like doesn't care. But it's really cool.
I'm really nervous about that. I'm really nervous about the numbers affecting, because it's so fun.
Yeah,
it's so fun to focus on the numbers, and I'm really worried about that. But at the same time, you should be cognizant of that because you've created not just some of the most watched videos, but some of the most amazing videos ever. So there's a strong correlation there. It's not like you're selling your soul to make a highly viewed video. It's actually, if you look at the metrics, it helps you understand what is compelling or not. And so I feel like I am, I feel like there's some value to investigate or when people tune out and when not, to be more data driven, even on podcasts. But I'm really afraid of that.
On the flip side, I think part of the appeal is that you don't care about that kind of stuff.
But there could be stuff that doesn't have to do anything with that, and it has to do with stylistic choices of lighting, cameras, or maybe with, for example, topics. Yeah, you know, like
even what you've asked me here is like different than what most people ask me.
Yeah, so it could be any, and it'd be nice to understand that. Again, I'm worried about polluting.
At the end of the day, this is a true case of intuition. Like, you know your viewers better than anyone else. So it's whatever.
I'd like to push back on that. I really don't.
You do.
I
Who
know.
else? Name one person who knows your viewers better than you.
Somebody that looks at numbers and podcasts.
No, you know your viewers. You know you're the only. How many episodes have you done?
360.
Exactly.
But I'm not.
You're the only one who's watched every second of all 300 videos. Probably.
That's just not. No, I haven't. But
well, because you did it, so you do know what's in it. It's your content. It's you. I'm telling you, you do. And this is just one of those moments where you're an intelligent guy and you just have to trust your like instincts. Like, just think. What is the typical like viewer, and what do they want?
I don't think like that.
But that's all you would have to do. And whatever your gut tells you, that would be the best guess.
You don't know what the typical viewer is, though. I don't, because to investigate that would be very, very difficult. And you have to start looking at the numbers and start to like consider demographic. The only way I know that anybody even watches it is because I sometimes run into people when I run along the river. And they be like, "I love you, Lex." It's like, okay, well that's a data point. You know, like cool people, but you know, I don't know. I don't have any other. It's difficult, man. It's difficult to know. It's difficult to know who listens to podcasts. It's difficult to. Do you have a sense of who's? I mean, like, you're so huge that everybody watches.
Yeah. But no, I still do. I'd say if you were to just put a gun to my head and you're like, all right, we're gonna pick a random person that watched the last video, and you have to like roughly guess what they are, and if we're not close, we'll kill you. I would say probably like a teenager in fact. Like some like that would be probably the typical one. And then there are people that are maybe a little bit younger. A lot of people are older as well. But in a random sample size, yeah, it's probably like a male boy that plays video games. Like that's the best way I would describe it. So I don't try to pertain to them. I just make whatever I I think he's interesting and good content. And this is what we were talking about before. Even though hypothetically 35 to 40% of my audience is women, which is less than the majority, if we get 100 million views a video, that's still 30 to 40 million females that watch every video, which is probably the largest views per video for women on the whole platform, which you wouldn't think that, like I can't think of a single other creator that gets more women to watch their videos than that. And so it's just like anything, even like people above the age of 30, even if it's only like 3 or 4%, that's still 3 to 4% of 100 million views, a lot of people that age. So we hit a large group of kind of every demographic. That makes any sense.
So what if we look at other maybe more challenging kinds of channels? Or not, but if we look at educational, for example, like lectures, educational, maybe short videos, like how would you connect that? Like something on robotics and biology and science and engineering and all that. That's more educational focused.
We would honestly just have to pull the data, because it's the same way if you went to Gordon Ramsay and said, how would a new cook cook better? It's like,
so even then, that's not even specific. You have to go channel by channel.
You really do, or how you can give more advice. Because if there was these just little rules, everyone would do it. Like if there's these magical little principles.
How quickly, when you look at a channel, can you kind of give advice?
Yeah, it's like surface level at the start, and then the more, if we watch 10 videos, I feel like I'd have a good profile, and I can tell you, in my opinion, especially once I look at the analytics and I get more ingrained in like, okay, typical viewers this, they're from here, here's how they're feeling, because there are people who make videos for rednecks. It's like the rednecks taste the content is just so much different than obviously women watching makeup videos. There's so much different than teenage boys watching a Minecraft video. They're just all different. So the biggest thing you have to do is put your head in the headspace of the viewer and see the content how they work. Because you just try to only give your taste, which is what a lot of people do, and think from your perspective, very biased, and it's just not going to work for everyone. And that's actually how you do more harm than good. Something that's very careful.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's generating a lot of ideas. I think the first time I talked to was on Clubhouse, actually. I mentioned something about robots, and like almost immediately what is generating a bunch of ideas about robots.
100 robots versus 100.
Yeah.
How far can a robot throw the table?
I think your idea, like the first idea, you just said so many ideas I've never even thought of. But it shows the value of basically brainstorming with people that do different.
But at the end of the day, my ideas are probably, might lean towards some people a little bit younger than your audience, like some of the stuff.
There's still ideas, like I think the first one you said, because we're talking about a project about dogs, you said to replace a biological dog with a robot dog and see if the owner notices something. You were just quickly brainstorming ideas of like,
this is years ago, I remember.
Which is just, it's like, oh yeah, I never really thought about that kind of, so it's the basic, the tension between what does it take for a robot or an AI system to replace the biological systems that the biological creatures that we love in our lives, But like that was like the pace of idea generation was the thing that struck me. Today, and in general, like that's how you get good videos.
It's much easier to make a video around a good idea, obviously, than a bad one. You just set yourself up for success.
Okay, so that's for 10x and very popular channel. What's the hardest number? You said the numbers that matter is click-through rate, average view duration, and surveys. What's the hardest number to optimize for?
Probably surveys.
Do you have an insight into the surveys at all?
No, not really. But if you just click on a bunch of random videos online, you'll eventually get a survey. Was this video transformative, heartwarming, inspiring? What people rate does make a difference. And it's like you can get people to click a video, you can get them to watch it, but you can't really fake whether or not they were satisfied. Like they don't lie, the surveys, maybe one person here or there might troll, but once you aggregate enough, it's a pretty clear telltale of the video. So either you're making a great video or you're not.
Was it minimizing the non-regrettability?
Yeah, I think Elon tweeted that. That's what he tried to do on Twitter.
That's interesting. That's it's basically the survey metric. How happy you are that you use it.
Yeah, Elon tweeted, we want to limit the amount of regrettable minutes people spend on Twitter. And first thing I thought is like that's something YouTube already has a lot, like their whole survey system and feedback loop.
I thought this would take
Still
on, do you
rabbi.
think? Like,
For Twitter.
yeah, for Twitter for any videos.
I mean, it's gonna be basically impossible. I mean, YouTube's not going anywhere. And I don't know. I don't think it's gonna do what YouTube does better than them, or at least not in the next 10 years.
You asked on Twitter, would you rather have $10 million or 10 million subscribers on YouTube? What would your own answer be at various stages in your career?
If I had nothing, I would say $10 million. Because with $10 million you can hire some people and pump out content with like $1 million or two, get 10 million subscribers, and then keep the other 8 million.
So that's if you believe in your ability to grow a channel.
Well, if you don't believe in your ability to grow a channel, then you should take the 10 million subscribers because you're just going to kill the channel. So, the 10 million, a better question would be, would you rather have $1 million subscribers? That's where it gets a little tricky. Because now it's like, $1 million life-changing amount of money. But, if you semi-know what you're doing, you probably make $1 million off a 10 million subscriber channel, but there's a little bit of risk.
$1 million might not be enough to build a strong team. Because you don't know how to do it, so you might waste all of that.
Yeah, or they just keep it and retire. Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah, because 10 million is just so high, it's like, just never work again. For the average human, that's so much work.
It's interesting to me also to the value of the subscriber versus the value of the dollar. I suppose how valuable is a subscriber for like what percentage of the videos, like how active the subscribers are watching the video?
For you, that's hard. I don't know. I was actually thinking more about the subscriber to dollar. Like if someone has 10 million subscribers and they made $10 million, I don't know why that kind of popped in my head. It's an interesting thought.
Do you ever, when you analyze videos, do you ever analyze videos like we've talked about offline of other videos across YouTube in general, just to understand trends, to understand social behavior?
Not all, but a lot of the questions are analytics based.
Yeah,
It's so
I love it. I mean, it's just a giant social experiment, right? Like what people like to watch, what people will share.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating.
I think that, so like I said before, what percentage of your audience do you think care about this kind of stuff? Think this deeply about YouTube analytics.
I think a large amount care about curiosity and exploration of in that sense, yeah, this is
I love it. This is funny. This isn't to be like, I love it. I love your Magnus one and even your Ricardo one. But I think we're getting to the point now where only analytics junkies want to keep hearing more analytics talk, and the normie is probably like they've had their dose of talk for the next 3 years. Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, comment if I'm wrong. I could be. I don't know your audience. See, this is where you would tell me, shut up. I know my audience. No,
and I don't at all. I just follow the thread of curiosity. And I think there's just a lot of curious humans in the world. And to me, it's like, so the question about analytics is a question of basically stepping away, stepping outside of yourself, and thinking, why the hell do I like TikTok so much? Why do I like Twitter so much? Why do I like YouTube so much? And getting, even if you're not a creator, getting an insight into that is really interesting. It's like, what, because all these platforms are fundamentally changing the nature of content. People are reading books less, they're probably going to be watching movies less and less, they're probably going to be watching Netflix less and less. Do you ever think about the darker side of YouTube, the shadow banning, the censorship, and all that kind of topic, especially if you see it on other platforms like Twitter, that Elon recently highlighted the shadow banning that was happening, and in general the censorship that was happening on those platforms. Do you think about the role of centralized control, which information isn't or isn't made available to search and discovery?
to be honest. I never really think about it.
You just try to make fun videos.
Yeah, I have more in my own lane, but it's not like that I don't just specifically think about it. I just like a lot of stuff in general. I'm just kind of in my own lane, thinking about my own stuff. But now that you asked, I'm curious. What are your thoughts on using that kind of stuff?
Well, I'm generally against centralized censorship or shadow banning. Shadow banning is the worst one because not that the goal of creating a healthy platform where you're having great conversations, videos that are not spreading misinformation. That sounds like an admirable goal, but that's too difficult of a job for a centralized entity. That's too big of an.
Yeah, well, then there's the misinformation stuff, and then there's also just like the videos where they do something that causes what happened back in the day for Apocalypse. A lot of creators' revenue plummets because people are doing videos that advertisers don't deem acceptable, and then now all these big advertisers are pulling, and the little guys are getting hit, and because average dropped by 30%. The person who just quit his job and go full-time concentration now can't sustain it. So it's like a lot of different variables as well. That makes it so complicated.
Well, I think the big thing is transparency, especially around shadow banning.
I agree. On shadow banning, you should be transparent. Like, you should let people know. Obviously there has to be some type of control. People can't just post whatever. And so if you're pulling those levers, they should at least know.
Yeah, so they know how to improve their content, they can understand it, they can if it's a wrong shadow banning, like society should not shadow ban this kind of content, that means you should be publicly discussing it and having
if it's not known, then it's just kind of like, well, then who's pulling the strings, and like, how do we know they're not just manipulating things to get whatever message they want out there and silence others?
Yeah, that could be sort of in the background, government influence, which is where actual freedom of speech comes into play, that the government should not have any control or be able to put pressure on censorship of speech. And it gets weird if none of that is true. There's no transparency around it. But to be fair, that's a huge responsibility. The amount of content that YouTube upload on YouTube is shared by YouTube, used by
But
YouTube.
even more of a reason why it would probably make sense to be transparent.
Yeah,
Because then people can help fact check.
that's right. Look, like that requires building a platform that makes that easy, right? Like to make fact checking easy, to make like Twitter now has like being able to share context and all that kind of stuff. Like crowdsource Wikipedia crowdsource. I mean, it's right.
The video of a random Wikipedia article.
But like people criticize Wikipedia because there's political lean to the editor of Wikipedia, and then they get there's some articles that definitely have a bias to them and all that kind of stuff. It's a difficult problem. It's a difficult problem to solve. That ultimately, as much as possible, it would be nice for the viewer to have control of that versus the entity that's posting it. So for the viewer to decide that.
I'm just gonna make
Cool videos. Yeah.
Yo, let's go to Antarctica again.
How was that? How was it? You just came back from Antarctica. I watched the video. That was fun. That was a really fun video. There's a lot of things I can comment about that. But what was the hardest part of this?
The hardest part was just getting out there. It's just so remote. And, you land the plane on just this ice runway, and it's so sketchy. And then once the plane takes off, you're just there. You're the most remote place on the planet. And it's just very breathtaking. If you have the chance to ever go to Antarctica, I would recommend it. It was probably like in the video we climbed the mountain, that wasn't named, so we didn't name it. And like standing on top of that mountain and just seeing kind of like nothing. Because once you get outside the outskirts, you get deep in Antarctica, there's no penguins. Nothing lives there at all. And so there's just nothing in every direction. It's just snow and these crazy beautiful mountains, and some of them sticking to the clouds. And if you go during summertime, the sun never goes down. The sun's up 24/7, and it's just like spinning in circles at the top of the planet or whatever it looks like.
Yeah, you guys commented so it's not beautiful.
Yeah, and so it's just it's very.
They love shooting and stuff, like the technical aspects of shooting it.
Oh, I mean, well, somehow we lucked out. One of the days was like the warmest day in like forever that's been in Antarctica. It's like it was positive degrees, but at certain parts it's also like -20, -30. And that's where the cameras, you constantly have to be switching out the batteries and heating them up and like putting them through. Basically, it's like your pants so they don't just get way too cold. And we were prepared for much worse, but it ended up being much better than we thought.
So for that video, but in general, maybe some other challenging videos, how do you go from the idea stage to the actual execution to the final video? Can you take me through like the full process of like we're talking about some crazy wild ideas today? How do you go from that to a final video we can publish?
Well, I mean, obviously, first things first, you have to figure out the idea, and then it just depends. I mean, take any video you can think of on my channel. I can take it through.
Well, what about in the circle? You have to stay in the circle for 100 days.
Yeah, so for that one, step one.
One of the most popular.
Yeah, that video did really well. So we, problem is, we have to, where you get really into the nuances of the company, because we have a lot of videos going out. You can't just, in a vacuum, be like, all right, we're not doing anything for 100 days, we're only filming this. So step one is we have to build an independent crew that can actually do that for 100 days. That way everyone else can keep working on the normal videos and not just screw everything out. So step one, build that team. Okay, we got the team. Now what do we need? Well, to do this, we need probably like 10 cameras at least rolling at all times. So we're probably going to need to get a trailer and hook up a bunch of storage and stuff to just carry up the sheer volume of footage we're going to have. And so get a trailer, set up the cameras, go out in the field, paint a circle, need a house, buy a house, bring it out there. And then it's like, oh wait, I think it'd be funny if I brought the house in on the intro. Find a crane that can lift up a house so I can drive it in and drop it in the intro.
And that's like an iterative process where you're like, okay, this would be funnier. So it's not all up front.
Yeah, ideally it would be, but as you kind of see things, you get inspired and then you think of more and more. And then
It'd be better with cranes.
yeah, it'd be better if I dropped out that.
Yeah. That was crazy that you decided to do that. So fearless is the kind of crazy stuff you want to do.
Exactly. And I'm a broken record, but whatever makes the video possible. Yeah. That's all you focus on.
Okay, so what about the delegation? Like, who gets to, what are the cameramen, like the people operating the cameras, who's responsible for different things? Is it like a distributed process?
Well, that's where whoever the lead camera will be on that video, which is decided. That one could be shot over 100 days. And then a lot of it was just shot, and the guy who was in the film was just watching. Camera, and he figured it out, and then we have like for him just set hours each day that a cameraman would come. So if he had any content he needed extra hand, instead of just having someone on standby 24/7, it made more sense to do set hours. Yeah, it was hard, but it's funny in hindsight. It sounds so simple,
And I guess like the more, that one is relatively simple, I guess, because it's a low number of people.
Yeah, the hard part about that is just time. Like, I checked in on so many different days. And it's like an hour here, 2 hours there, 2 hours there. Over 100 days adds up to be a ton of time. And even then, like, if you have a 10-person crew, paying them daily rates for 100 days, it's just all that adds up.
What about like the 100 versus 100 adults, kids? What was bringing that to life? That seems like exceptionally challenging.
Yeah. Basically, the thought process was we did 100 kids, 100 boys versus 100 girls. People loved it. Honestly, I didn't think they'd like it as much as they did. The video did really, really well. So the second I saw that in the instruction, I was like, all right, we're doing it again. Last time we did it in our studio. We built a giant room, put 100 girls in it. Sounds bad when I explain it like this. And then a giant room, put 100 boys. And we're like, after 100 hours, which every room has the most people, get $500,000. Did well. We're like, all right, we're going to do it again. So we threw out all these different ideas. So it was like 100 football players versus 100 cheerleaders, 100 this, 100 that, 100 prisoners versus 100 cops. Just craziest ideas. And we settled on 100 kids versus 100 adults. And then the next step was like, how do we make it better? The kids versus adults are the boys versus girls. The first one we did was inside. And the problem was every time it was night, when we did these long time lapses, you couldn't see the sun go up and down. So we're like, okay, at this time I want to do it outside. But the kids are outside. And instead of doing circles, we want to make them cubes. And then, it's figuring out if we want just
those videos came up at least today as ones that are like pretty complicated. The audio in terms of how
that's the problem. We had a lot of audio issues. In the first one, we didn't have a roof on it. The second one, there was a roof, with a lot of reverb, which then in editing made it brutal. Like half the shots were unusable, and it really screwed us over. So we had to do a lot of Frankensteining in the editing to make up for basically my ignorance.
So you mentioned that you were surprised by that one did. A lot of creators talk about getting depressed when the videos don't do as well as they kind of expected. There's a kind of feeling you can get really worn out by that. Do you yourself feel that? And also do you have advice for others that feel that?
Yeah, it's weird because I am a numbers guy, but also like it used to. It used to very much, especially when I was like setting everything I had on a video. When it did bad, I was devastated. I'd cry and I'd be depressed for days, and it really would have a severe impact on my mood. But I don't know, now it doesn't really matter. It's the video is better. Look at it, and I'm like, oh, I just video do that. Probably, there's a little retention dip there. I don't think people like the thumbnail. Maybe we should switch it. I just look at it objectively, unemotional, and then just move on. I feel like that's a much healthier way of going about it. So if a creator is listening, like that is the ideal way to respond to a video that's doing bad. Just remove emotion from the equation and just look at it and figure out how you can do it.
Is there tricks to being able to detach yourself from that? Because like in your case, I mean that's true for creators, but in your case, this is like a lot of money on the line.
Yeah, well, and
There's
videos
videos
months of my life,
yeah.
so much time, but no, I mean, I don't know, the only real answer is just a conscious effort. You just have to unemotionally look at the video, determine the problems, and then move on. Like, there is no secret, you know what I mean? It's just, it's that, and if you really can't bring yourself to do it, you're just screwed. Honestly, maybe you're not meant to this game.
Okay, so that's part of the development of the creators, like being able to be
For longevity, yeah. You have to unemotionally be able to look at videos that flop and figure it out. Because if not, and not every video can be a 1 out of 10. And so when a video does bad, that just stress and depression is just gonna eventually get to you in the long run.
So you said you've failed in a bunch of videos. So you've taken them to completion. So what are some of the biggest fails?
Yeah, weirdly enough, as we've matured, we've done this, but we don't have that problem as much. Especially now we're getting into multi-million-dollar budgets per video. It's like failure is not really an option anymore. So I'm a little more particular about what I do. But back in the day, yeah, like we would do a video where we spent 24 hours on a desert island, and we filmed it, did it all, and I didn't like it after the edit. So I just grabbed the voice and we went back to the deserted island and spent another 24 hours there and refilmed it.
Could that have been caught and prevented again?
No, it's a good idea. It's just poor execution. To be honest, when we were out there, it was hot. We're just like, I don't want to die. It was just miserable.
So how do you avoid that these days?
Well, I just thought it was a little cooler, to be honest. Literally, the amount of fun we had in the video was like 10 times higher.
Do you like there's some practice you did?
Yeah, I don't take videos that where it's very hot or it's on water because I get super seasick. There's like kind of like 10 things that if they have these variables, I'm down to do it. But my fun meter is not as high as normal. We tried to anytime we do anything on a boat, like when we spent 24 hours in the Pyramid or Triangle, or when I tried to spend like, which I didn't get out of, but I tried to spend like 100 hours at sea or whatever, just like on a raft. It's just like it makes me want to throw up, and I get so seasick I can't even see straight. But there are just some videos that require me to be on a boat, so I just like pick it up.
So when you spend months in creating video, I know this is probably stressful to some creators. Like how much stress? How do you feel when you have to get published?
No, not much.
Yeah,
Again, in old me, tons. I feel like scratching and nervous, and like my hands would be sweating, like to the point where I'm almost about to puke. People like it, but I don't know. I think that's just part of maturing. It's different. As a content creator, there's different phases, and you just like once you get over the fear that you're just gonna wake up one day and be irrelevant, and you just accept that like you believe in yourself, you believe in your content, and that you can continue to be relevant. Then you don't. I don't know. You kind of are. It's a little bit easier to tap yourself, I guess. So it's a much healthier place to be. You can't do this for 10 years if every little thing just causes these huge emotional reactions. It's like that's why a lot of creators go a little, basically insane. You have to get out of that game. Right? Because it really messes with you.
We've talked about this a little bit, but how do you define and how do you suggest others define success?
It's so subjective. Some people, success is retiring them up. For you, success is inspiring people and educating them, and whatever, just piquing their curiosity. For other people, it's just quitting their job.
You have to self-reflect on what your definition of success is, because I think a lot of creators kind of don't really don't introspect. Like, they kind of want to keep getting more and more subscribers, kind of thing.
Yeah, but subscribers is just a vanity metric. It doesn't. Subscribers don't correlate to views.
Sure, or views, what?
Yeah, I know, but that wasn't direct to you. That was more direct to people listening, because a lot of people do really care about subscribers or even followers, like on TikTok. But if you look, like, if on YouTube, very, very few percent, if even a percent of your views come from the sub feed, right? So they're almost all home feed or suggested. When's the last time you clicked on your sub feed to watch a video?
Almost never, yeah.
Yeah, maybe 5 years ago. It used to be a thing. It's not anymore. No one does. And it's getting harder and harder to find that.
I subscribe to way too many channels, I think.
Yeah, that's what everyone does. And you subscribe to 10 channels, they're great, but 2 years later, your taste evolves. It's a mess. And so, subscribers don't really matter. Followers on TikTok don't really matter. Anyways, they really are the definition of a vanity measure.
But what about views?
They do, obviously, because if people are showing up time and time again, that's what matters. Okay.
So that's a good thing to define as success. I just feel like that too could be a problem, because I would say, if I wanted to be successful, like as a young creator, I might start copying Mr. Beast or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like you start trying to take shortcuts as opposed to find your own unique voice, right? So like chasing views is a problem too, or no? So as long as you detach yourself from
I mean, if you're lazy, yeah, and you just want to copy someone else and not experiment and find your own way. But, you can't make that excuse for them. If someone just isn't coming up with original stuff and putting in the effort, you can't just say, it's chasing views, we need some different metric for them to chase. No, they just need to find their own way.
Right? It just feels like unique type of content will often lead to sacrifice in the number of views in the short term.
But in the long term, okay. Or if you do win, you win more, I guess would be a better way of putting it.
Do you think you will IPO Mr. Beast Burger or the next 5 years?
Beast Burger, no, I kind of think they're actually, you know what, I just realized, this is our first time talking about we're like an hour and a half in, that's so funny.
We started talking about
my retention brain kicked in.
what if you have retention brain for life itself?
Oh, I do. Every time I'm talking to someone, I'm like, okay.
What about loved ones? Like spending time with loved ones, thinking like you could be doing something better right now.
Yes, no, that is a serious problem with. Well, so we'll pause the Beast Burger question. Yes, but that's why my current girlfriend, which I was telling you before when we were talking about this, is she has a genuine love for learning, and that's the thing. I always feel like I need to learn something just by the time I'm spending, and so that's why it's such a nice trait, because I feel like the time is being used optimally, because whether we're watching a documentary or we're going and taking an IQ test or reading about whatever, just why modern art is a thing, I don't know, whatever weird thing we decide to do, I'm always learning and improving, so it justifies the time.
So to maximize retention in your relationship, you want to spend time in that time learning as much as possible.
Yeah, which immediately I don't have to force, right? Or I want to be recharging, so when I do work, I can hit the ground harder. And luckily, we're into a lot of the same things. So, have to be learning sometimes. It's not like maybe watching an anime or something like that. But I'm a big believer in you're either, if your goal is to be like a super successful entrepreneur, you need to either be working or you need to be doing something that decompresses and recharges you so you can work again. If your goal is to be like a really kick-ass entrepreneur, obviously we're boiling this down to like a very basic thing. And so the things you're doing in your downtime, when you're not working, if it doesn't recharge you, you're screwed. You're just a ticking time bomb waiting to implode. And so you got to heavily recharge. And so watching for me is anime or whatever it is. practice, playing a board game, like that is actually kind of crucial to my success, which takes a lot of maturing to come to that conclusion. Because I used to be the kind of guy that wanted to work every hour of the day, and I would try to train myself to not need that stuff. And and I almost resented like that. I have to do these kinds of things that piss me off because it's not optimal. I just really want to make content and entertain people. But as someone who's gone down that road, and you just work every day for 2 to 3 months straight, every hour of the day, and it's just a bomb way to explode and lose your mind. And the only real sustainable thing is to just like give yourself time to recharge in between working.
So there's a kind of balance you have to find.
You have to. And I hate it more than anyone else because
You hate not working.
yeah, because it's just not optimal. It's as a human, I do need to occasionally watch a mindless show. I play a board game, and it took me a very long time to like come to peace with that and not. I would have like borderline panic attacks when I do it because what am I doing right now? Why am I doing this? I should be, like, what if one day I have to lay off an employee because we're not doing so well? Like, how could I justify watching this show or whatever I'm doing right now? It's like, there's a lot of things like that that go on in your head. But that's like,
Before we return to what is like since we're on the topic, what is a perfect day in your life, perfectly productive day in your life?
oh boy, well, I mean,
Or like
the perfectly productive day is we put one day because those it doesn't really get any better than that.
What about like the average day when you're not on the set?
Yeah.
Because you're running a lot of things, right?
Yeah, so right now we have our snack ranks, we have a restaurant chain, these burgers, and then we haven't even really launched the product yet, but we have the data company that I was showing you, where we're going to roll out some tools for creators, and then we have the React channel, the game channel, the main channel, and we have a charity, which also has a channel. And so kind of how I structured my life right now is whenever I have free time, we just kind of go, hey guys, we've got an hour from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And everyone's like, I need this. And this guy's like, I need this thing filmed, or whatever. The guy who runs that TikTok, like, I need this TikTok filmed, or Beast Burger's like, I need this menu item approved. We need to talk about this marketing thing, and then we kind of just look at what everyone needs, and we're like, that one looks like the most important. We'll do that, and so it's just kind of like, if I just did that for every company in a day, then that's awesome. Like, just kind of like an optimal day for me would be going down to 8 companies and just whatever their like 2 to 3 big pain points or things they need from me, and just doing those
based on priority, and then trying to keep it as short as possible.
Yeah.
With just the things that you need.
It doesn't get more optimal than that. If I clear the bottlenecks or some bottlenecks for all my companies, then that's a perfect day.
Yeah, I mean, even just because you're like, you're showing around and you're being a great and gracious host. And on top of that, you're still going to meetings. You basically.
I felt bad at some point. I was like, I just tricked him into going to meetings with me. I was like my little meeting buddy.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. It was fun to see. It was fun to see how effectively you've delegated. You basically trust the team to do a really good job on the various things, and there's just a strong team that's able to carry the fight on all the different tasks, from the brainstorming, the main channel to the React and so on. That's really interesting. I mean, it's really interesting what it takes to build a team like that, because you very quickly build a very large team that's able to scale.
It's very scary. My first, I'm 24. And I think I was telling you this earlier. It's funny because 6 years ago I had to raise my hand to use the bathroom, and now I'm in charge of hundreds of people and entertain hundreds of millions of people. And so it is crazy just how quick it comes up. And I wish I was a little bit older so I could have ran a couple of companies and failed a few companies in the past and like learn from those and apply those here. Because I know for a fact when I'm 34, I'll know so much more about running a business and scaling and hiring and how to lead people and better effectively communicate, all these different skill sets that make me a better leader. But that's the only thing that sucks is I just don't have those because I just haven't been through the lessons, and I just have such a lucrative thing on my plate right now, and it's just like I have to learn the lessons of the lucrative thing,
Yeah, because you're already has so much influence and impact. But you have effectively scaled. What lessons do you draw from that? How to effectively scale as a point? Like,
yeah, that's something I feel like I actually could give a lot of value to young people who are doing it. Like older people who build 5 companies or whatever they do. I probably couldn't, never be like, oh, that's so obvious. But for younger first-time business owners, you gotta just experiment, to be honest. And but for us, like it's just a new space. No one had really ever scaled up a 100-person team to make content on YouTube. So there wasn't no. I spent all this time like I hired one person from Disney at one point to come in and help. And obviously that was a dumb idea looking back on it. But I thought, oh, they make great stuff. People want to watch. So they come over here and help me build a team, and they build it more the traditional way, not like how it should be online. And so then it's like, okay, I'm not trying to trash people. They tried their best, but then I hired this one person who does this different type of media and runs a 100-person team. And then you come in here and they try to build it that way. They don't really listen to you or value or see the difference. And I tried basically for building this company with like 4 or 5 different people who work in different veins of media. And every single time, they just don't get it, and they don't understand my world. And the eventual solution was just like throw up my sleeves and do it myself. With like James or Handman, just like no one's ever done this, and like no one's gonna go and care how it's built this company. We gotta figure it the fuck out ourselves. And you have to kind of build up people from scratch. Yeah, exactly. All the stuff I was talking about earlier, all the lessons I learned along the way. And so for me, that was a big part. It's like stop trying to have someone build this company for me and just do it myself, because it's scary. Like I spent my whole life studying YouTube videos virality, not business building. But fuck it, I was like, I guess we just gotta do it ourselves. And that's where things really started to click, and we got the exponential growth. We started getting the right people and training them the right way, and just throwing conventional stuff out the door and focusing on what's actually practical for YouTube, which is just completely different than traditional media. So you train people, and then most people train people. And so on. Yeah, I mean, it's just even like how you do the lighting on sets, or like how you do the audio, or not writing the script. So we're just not as efficient as filming. Like, sometimes I have to have 30 cameras running. Why? Because it's not scripted. I don't know what Chris is gonna do when we start filming. He might run over there. But guess what? We gotta have a plan because there's only one shot. I can't, tell him not to do that. That's the shooting, but then there's also the editing. Yeah, and then the editing as well, and not having guardrails. Kind of, at the end of the day, it's whatever I want. The video, their job is to make a video that they can call like, because it's my channel. But you can achieve that kind of however. And so it's just everything's just different. It's much more, I guess, like a startup as opposed to. Are you often surprised, like with the results? Like, you think a certain idea who watched the video today was really nice, was different than you would have potentially edited it? Yeah. Are you sometimes surprised by like a decision that it makes? It's like, okay, it's not the way I would have done it, but it's actually just what it is. Yeah, of course. Yeah. The thing, my biggest fear is I don't ever want to get trapped in like a bubble of, because we are getting 100 million views video on the main channel. Like, but I don't want to get in this feedback loop of just my ideas are great, or not feedback loop, but stop learning and improving, because it is easy sometimes to what we're doing is working, and you just keep doing it. I want to keep learning and trying new things, and I guess one way I put it is like, you don't, when you're on a come up where you're growing, you don't want to test new things once you start to plateau or have a downtrend, because if you're like, you're skyrocketing, right? You're up, and then you level off, you start to go down. You're like, oh, this isn't working. Let's start experimenting. If you have a bad experiment, now you're in like a tailspin. You're nose diving, and you have one more bad experiment. You're like, sure, I'm oversimplifying. You want to test things while you're still growing and keep the growing happening. Because once you like have, again, very oversimplifying that kind of level off, you do a couple tests that go wrong. You're like, screw, you're already out the door. Now you're just confirming that you're out the door and online entertainment. So that's kind of how I see it. So I think it's very imperative that you're constantly always experimenting and trying things, even if you're getting crazy, unheard of growth.
And so that outside of the things that brought you to the dance, you just dived right into Mr. Beast Burger and Feastables. This is a whole other industry. Like, what was that like?
Well, so Beast Burger, we kind of, it was supposed to be like just a pop-up. Like, we just partnered with someone who had 300 restaurants, and we were just like, you know, let's just sell Beast Burgers for a day or two. Let's see what happens. We didn't really think it would be as big as it was, but those that first day, you know, it would be 6 figures in sales. And they all sell out, and they're running to local Walmarts. They can't keep up with the demand. And it's like, okay, well, maybe let's just leave it open a week, whatever. And we're just doing crazy revenue. And it's like, okay, well, let's add some more restaurants, and let's just leave them open for a month. And we're just still doing 6 figures a day. And it kind of just went from this thing that was, I don't know, it wasn't really, they didn't really plan on running a restaurant chain, but here I am.
But didn't that in some sense also open your mind to more people?
Feastful is something I've always wanted to do. Because I think, just in general, American snacks are just full of so much horrible ingredients, to be honest, and they're not, I don't know. I feel like there also hasn't been any innovation in American snacks in quite a while. And so that's just something I've always been pretty passionate about. The thing, we built that from scratch. So we hired the CEO and built the team around him, and we spent probably 2.5 years before we even launched. It's like building the right team, figuring things out, and making sure it was actually ran the way I wanted. Which Feastables has just been crushing. It's very interesting. This is something I've never talked about publicly, but having products in retail, it's like before Feastables, everything I had done was online. So if you wanted to, you know, anything from the Cocoa Peace brand, you'd have to buy it online, ship it to you. But Feastables, now that, you know, because our first product, chocolate bars, we started putting that in retail locations. So like, for example, Walmart, it's crazy. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. How, if you're, which I guess it does because we get 100 million views for this. So a lot of people know us. If I go stand in Walmart, those people recognize me and ask for photos. Like, if I still know, I can take 150 photos today in Walmart, 200, whatever it is. So obviously it makes sense those people go fight Feastables, but then you just multiply that by every Walmart in America, and it just gets so crazy. I didn't think we'd be doing the kind of revenue we are, and we're about to launch in some other, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, whatever, but other big retail, you know, locations and convenience stores, and like by the end of next year, we could be in like 40, 50,000 locations, and the numbers just don't make sense. You know what I mean?
What are some interesting challenges while scaling there?
The biggest problem, which I didn't think would be, was just keeping the shelves of Walmart stock, to be honest. Like, it was brutal. Well, even then, sometimes, like, you know, you get them the stuff, and like, it takes them like a day or two to put it out in that specific location. And I had to stop promoting it because every time I mention it, like 40% of people would just be like, it's not there, it's not in Walmart, or I can't buy it. And so there was like a 3-ish month period where I just did promote Feastables because I was scared that someone would go buy it and it's just not there. And so like it took us a very long time to catch up to the demand, and also it's not like we have unlimited money. So but now we're relatively caught up and keeping up. But it's gonna be interesting because now this year in 2023 we're gonna basically, you know, 10x the amount of locations we're in. So we're gonna try to launch new products. So we're in for an interesting ride, but yeah, I hate when I tell people, you know, like, hey, go try this product, and then they go in there like, Walmart, and the other places, and it's not there. It's just so brutal, you know. They made that whole journey out there and it's been good. So that's really it. Besides that, it's been doing everything I thought.
You talked in a couple places about maybe doing mobile games or computer games in the future.
Yeah.
Is that something you're still considering?
Yes. Do you normally talk with people as much as we talk with them? No, that's the problem. We spend all day today talking about my head. Everything you ask me is stuff we already talked about.
Not really.
Well, no, not everything. I think about it, but the last 2 questions. Yeah. It's just funny Because why? No, I tried to go. There's a different style of asking one question. Because I had purpose didn't dig further with you. I can tell. Yeah. So I can tell you. Okay, this is by the way. Okay. All right. Well, this is the first time I've ever talked to somebody as much as I did with you beforehand. On the same day. I know. Not even the same day together. We're talking about only 3 hours. 1 hour. Yeah. Literally, it's funny. This is a hilarious. I picked him up from the hotel and I just like harassed him all day to hang out. And then here we are now. I was secretly recording. Anyway, so so the interesting thing is with Beast Burger and Feastables that there's physical goods as opposed to like making mobile games or PC game, whichever one we end up doing, which is software. And I actually have a giant international audience. Most of my audience is obviously outside of America. And so the problem we're running into is it just takes time to build up the supply chain and get Feastables in Southeast Asia, get Feastables in India, get Feastables in Brazil and Mexico and all these other places where we have giant pockets of our audience. And same thing with Beast Burger. It's going to take probably years, unless we partner with someone who already has distribution for figuring out. But the beauty of software is I can make a hypothetical game or whatever we end up doing, and all my fans can, use it tomorrow, the day I mention it. And so if I promote something in a video to 100 million people, it's like basically like a game, they can all download it. So but if I promote a Feastables bar, right now it's only in America because we're struggling just to keep up with American demand. We haven't even gotten the chance to go outside America. So I alienate a majority of my audience, and it feels so shitty to just mention something that most of them can't buy. But on the flip side, you can't just spawn this crazy infrastructure and just have tens of millions of bars and all your products in every single store across the world before you promote it. So you can't put the egg before the chicken. And so it's like that's what I'm excited about. I want to get into less physical stuff and more stuff that everyone out is can actually use.
Especially if there's a social element to the game too. It's not unlike keeping like
you missed it when you're setting up for this. We were doing some basically just laying out everything that we're planning for. So we're in the phase where we want to start hiring the teams to build it, and we're kind of just laying out the game. And I was actually really curious to get your thoughts, but I can't say it because whatever I say, someone's just gonna take it and run with it. You're a good idea.
About the kind of games
yeah.
you think about? Yeah, I mean I can imagine it also talk a little bit about it. It's super awesome.
Good one.
I did.
Someone should talk.
Hi, I'm Lauren.
All right.
The Juicy Talks out of you. She's like, I gotta go set up.
Well,
It's because I can get great quality and value in one stop.
I already heard about it. Well, I mean, but that is a different kind of team you need.
Plus, I can earn 50 points per gallon of gas pumped at
Is that a little nerve-wracking? Like
Meyer has all I need in just one stop. And the same low
going
Meyer
to a new
prices in
field
store and
and trying
online.
to
A little bit, but then I remind myself like Steve Jobs did not. So, right, and he just knew what a good product was. And I feel like as someone who wasted so much of his life playing video games, I have a good sense of it. And that might be ignorant.
well, that's important, right? It's not about coding, it's about winning.
Exactly. And again, that might genuinely be ignorant. Maybe I end up, getting bit in the butt because of what I'm saying now. But I think, just like with YouTube, I just want to obsess over making a great product and things that I think my audience will love it. I think as long as I keep that as my North Star, it'll do well.
What is the path to being worth 100 billion look like?
What does the path to being worth 100 billion look like? I don't know.
Okay, let me just pause. You're coming forward, and there's so much awesome scale, so many great ideas. Do you think about different trajectories?
Yeah.
With those possible.
Yeah, I mean, if the goal was to just be worth $100 billion, yes. My goal, I'm a broken record, to make the best video possible because I know whatever else I want will come.
The video is the foundation.
Yeah, exactly. So the path to $100 billion is keep $100 billion video. You know what I mean? Or more, exactly. But if we can keep Feastables going, right? And we eventually expand international. One day we're in 100,000 retail locations, and we're selling the same amount of SKUs units per SKUs like we're currently doing. I mean, that would crush. And then obviously, ideally, one day we open up hundreds of beef burgers. We get it where we turn out, like Supercell, a couple hit games. I don't want to make dozens or hundreds of games. I just want to make games that are just great. And we rarely drop them. Well, we do. They're bangers. And just whatever other stuff we end up doing. All that combined, I mean, it's just interesting because, like, what's a show that's pulled 100 million views per episode, basically? Like we're doing. Like, like the Super Bowl gets praised because they get 100 million viewers, but I can't think of a show. Maybe in reruns or something.
But it's also a show that has a similar kind of figure
Yeah.
that you can now use as a.
Like, I don't have a network telling me what to do. I don't have anyone. I can do whatever I want. So it's a very interesting position because I put out content and 100 million people show up. And then I also have a gaming show. I put out content, 15 million people show up. A reaction channel, I put out content, 10 million people show up. And on TikTok, I put out content, on average, 20 million people show up. So as long as I can keep that going and then we build these businesses, it's honestly pretty scary to see what will happen, over the years because Feastables launched, last year, 2022, so it's a relatively new thing. And Beastburger, we just started scaling up the physical side. We haven't obviously even launched the mobile games yet. So I think I'm at the antithesis of it. I don't see a world where my YouTube channel is relevant in the next couple of years. That's what I live for. And so if I can keep that going and then really start to expand these businesses that leverage off of it, then hopefully there's a day where I can give away $1 billion in a video, honestly.
That would be one hell of a video. Let me ask you the ridiculous question since you went from being broke to being rich, although you keep spending all your money. Does money buy happiness? How has money changed sort of your contentment, your happiness in life?
Money buy happiness? No, not. I mean, to a point, yes. Once you can take care of your health, you can take care of any immediate dangers, and you can take care of your family relatively. No, it doesn't. But those things do. When I first came into money, one of the first things I did was retire my mom. And that brought me tons of happiness. You know what I mean? And if my brother had a medical emergency and we couldn't afford it, and I made money to afford it, that brings tons of happiness. So once you take care of those basic necessities, so let's say make over $100 million, it really doesn't. Adding an extra zero, going from 10 million to 100 million or whatever it is, makes no difference.
So you're given that are just fearless in spending your money.
Yeah, well, let me rephrase. I guess it could for some people. If you really, I don't know, you spend your whole life obsessing over cars, it probably would bring you a little bit of joy to buy a nice living. I'm coming more from the frame of mind of an entrepreneur, someone who's really obsessed with physically. For me, and a lot of my friends and people I hang around, what brings us happiness is winning and building companies and changing the world. That is fun. It's a complex problem you can wake up every day, and it gives you something to obsess over and devote your life to. Whereas just having money doesn't,
Well, one interesting question for you psychologically. So because you have become wealthy and because you give, part of your work is giving away a lot of money, do you find it hard to find people you can trust? Do people see you basically as a source of money as opposed to another human being?
It's weird. Because you would think yes, but I feel like I also know the right places to look. But yeah, if I just walked into Target and tried to make friends with 10 random people, of course, you gotta,
you can kind of sense.
Oh yeah, you can say the right thing so quickly. It's so obvious. And I don't even want to go into this, but honestly, a lot of my friends are Chandler. I played Little League with him. And Tyler, the guy, I went to school with him. Chris, he was my first subscriber. Carl was here after we got big, but whatever. He's friends with boys. And a lot of my closer friends, even my YouTube friends, I knew before I was big. So maybe there is some merit to that. Maybe it is. I don't know. I've never really put too much thought into it. Maybe there's a reason I hang around with a lot of these people I knew before I got big because it's much easier.
And they help you keep your radar sharp. You can't be trusted because you can trust them.
Yeah.
And it's difficult when you become richer and richer and more powerful.
Well, one thing you'll also find when you get not even richer, but more famous. One thing I thought is, as I climbed this like ladder of YouTube and got bigger, I thought there would be tons of people like me. People like that take like the kamikaze approach to building a business. You just throw all your money in it, you throw all your time, you throw all your, throw everything. Yeah. You're just like, fuck it. This, I'm dead. Yeah. I thought there would be hundreds of these, and there isn't. I mean, there's like maybe one or two. And I talk to motherfuckers every single day. I'm sick and tired of talking to them, but I love them. But it's just so interesting. It's like every level I got, I'm like, a million subscribers. Like, all right, where's all these guys with a million subscribers that are fucking psychopaths? And then they're like,
people become so like conservative as they get more.
Especially as they get bigger, yeah. And 20 million subscribers, 30. It's like every step of the way, it's like I just got more and more lonely, to be honest. So it sounds cliche. You hear that kind of shit in movies, and you're like, oh, that's not how it works. But it is. Like, there's just not many people that just want to give up everything, go all in, and obsess over making the greatest goddamn videos every single day of their life. Like, they're really hard to find.
And be able to sacrifice everything for that video. Yeah, and basically put all the money right back in.
Yeah, or the people doing it, they're on just a small scale. And if I talk to them, it's just 99.9% of the time I'm teaching them things. It's like,
so it's lonely because there's not too many people, especially in the creative space, that are as crazy as you.
Yeah, it is 100%. It's not what I was expecting. I was expecting there to be a lot of people like me. But,
well, I guess the guy we talked to almost is a bit like you in that sense.
Yeah, just
in a different domain. Yeah.
Exactly.
His willingness to put it all back in.
And that's what I found right now. A lot of the people I relate to don't even make YouTube videos. Like, it's just like I'm veering more and more away from fellow content creators and more to just I'm just working for those other people who just share a little bit of it, so I don't feel so fucking crazy all the time. Like, you know what I mean? And like people I feel normal around, they tend to just be doing the randomest things, but loving it.
Well, I think that's really inspiring. It's like the Bukowski line, find where you love and let it kill you. It's really like everything. Put everything into the thing you love. That's like the way to really create special stuff, but it's also the way to
the thing is, like, you have to be careful giving this advice because they're like bodybuilders. They'll be like, just go to the gym, be disciplined. I'm disciplined, go to the gym. But I would argue for those people, it's like it's not even discipline. They just enjoy weightlifting, right? Because there are people who are jacked, but they don't make much money or run a business. Right, they're that disciplined. They would be hitting every area of their life. They just really like discipline. And there's people like me who just, to an extreme level, love building companies. Right, it's not even discipline for me. It's just in my blood. It's what I wake up. I don't think about it. I don't push myself. I don't need to watch a fucking motivational video to work. I just do it. It's programmed in me at this point. And I couldn't imagine a world where I don't wake up and do it every day. But I think that a little bit of it is genetics, and just how you're hardwired. Not that it can't be trained or taught, and not that, and obviously the friend group you're in influences these things, and over time I think can change it. But someone's just not going to be able to flip a switch and then just start doing a kamikaze approach to building a business. Just like a lot of people try to flip a switch and start bodybuilding and then quit majority of the time. That's not innate to them.
But I think a lot of us have the capacity to do that in some domain.
Yeah, I think if you went about it strategically, you surrounded yourself with fellow like-minded people, and slowly over time switched it. But if you just try to hardcore do it, you're just gonna lose money.
Do you ever worry about your mental health? Do you take a step to protect it? For the long run, to make sure you have the mental strength to go on?
Yes, weirdly enough, the best thing for my mental health was giving into my innate nature to work. And the most depressed I get is when I try to restrict it and kind of work weekends, trying to work this day. What's best for me is just to work when I feel like working, and then just not work when I don't. And just have those restraints. Because there are just some nights where I don't want to sleep. And for whatever reason, I feel compelled to go all night. Whatever. Just do it. Do whatever you want. Is what I tell my working brain. And I just give into it. And I feel that's where I feel the happiest. And then it's typically and when I'm really in the grind mode, it'll be 7 or 8 days, non-stop going. And then it's I'll realize I need some recharge. So I'll get stingy and these are management. But that's the thing. People will tell you don't work weekends, or don't do this, or don't work past this, or blah blah. Give you all these constraints. But for me, it's unconventional. I just give into it.
I think there's something really to be said for that. I try to surround myself with people that, like when I go an all-nighter, they don't go like, you should get more sleep. There's a reason I pulled that all-nighter. Like, I'm really passionate about something. They basically encourage it. And I have no problem getting sleep and getting rest. What I need in my life is people that encourage you to kind of keep going with the stuff you're passionate about.
Normal people, they don't want that life. They probably should. It's not good for you. But yeah, if you hang around people, like, just whatever, different people, you're going to feel crazy and it's going to wear on you. Whereas if you're around similar people, it's so much easier. Like, if I started weightlifting more, and like, one thing that's helped is just having jacked people around, and they naturally just help you. They do.
Yeah.
Like, they naturally just have freaking grilled chicken and all this shit, and high protein meals, and it's just like easier for me to just piggyback and like, oh, can you just order me whatever you're getting? And they're like, oh, I gotta go to the gym. I'll be like, oh shit, I'll just join you, And it's like, it's cheat codes, I mean, just surround yourself with people that you want to be, and it makes it like 70% easier, in my opinion. It's like, that's the cheat codes of life. And I wish, obviously your audience is definitely a lot older, but to the older people listening, like, if you are in a place of mentorship for someone younger or have influence over younger people, you should really try to drill that in their heads. Like, the people they are around 100% dictates them. I would not be at 120 million subscribers if I didn't find, when I was around 1 million, I had a couple of friends that were just also psychopaths. I outgrew them, but at the time it was great. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for them. And just all along the way, the friends that I hung out with had such a dramatic impact on where I am. Like, I probably have 80 million less subscribers. If I wasn't so strategic about hanging out with people that I add value to and they also add value to me.
So the advice for young people would be to be very selective about the people you surround yourself with.
So selective. It's crazy. Like, Chris, he's really funny, and that's why he's great for the video. And part of why he's so funny is he consumes copious amounts of cartoons and just funny content. And so I'll find, like, when I spend more time with Chris, I'll start just quoting these weird cartoons and shows that, like, my speech will literally change. And just after like a week of spending more time with him, it's like that quick of an effect. Now picture that over the course of years. Yeah, it has such a huge influence. Like, plug one of their friends out and hypothetically put me in there, and there's no doubt if they're trying to become a content creator, their odds of success is 10x, right? Obviously you can't do that, but you gotta find your closest version of it.
They should be selective, yeah. But this also applies not just to younger people.
Agreed, but it's even more. When I was a teenager, I couldn't relate to many people I saw was like a fucking freak of nature because no one was obsessed with building businesses or any of this kind of stuff. So like back then, that advice would have been helpful. Maybe not that particular, but just knowing that it's not that you're a freak of nature. You just haven't found people that have the same interests.
So the task is not to feel sorry for yourself or somehow change yourself. It's more of
find people you did it with. Yeah, assuming you're not getting confident. And assuming it's not something bad. If your hobby is shooting things, or shooting things you shouldn't be shooting, don't find people that encourage that.
But outside of that, for sure. Actually, as an answer to what is the best advice someone ever gave you, you said, you're crazy until you're successful, then you're a genius.
All along the way. People gave me so much advice on why I shouldn't be doing it, why I'm crazy. Every step of the way, people wanted to tell me why I shouldn't be doing this and should get a life and stop being too obsessed. Everything I'm doing. And then once I'm successful, those same people are like, dang, you're a genius. Wow, you pulled that off.
Those are probably the same people who will give you advice now. You're the most successful video creator of all time. Stick to that. Anytime you want to do something new, right? They'll like pressure you not to do, festivals or mobile gaming or whatever lays beyond. It's funny how people don't.
Well, honestly, those type of people I wouldn't even know what they have to say now.
So most people on the team are like, yes, and they're like, whatever the idea you got, they're with it.
No, it's weird. We actually have my team pushes back on it pretty hardcore. Which I want. I don't want yes men. And they're like, James, you know, the CEO who helped me build all this, he's very adamant. Like, we're not yes men, and he trains people to really think for themselves. And even when I give them orders, to like really think, like, is this optimal? Is there context or information Jimmy could be missing that I can provide that can help him make a more updated decision? Like, I'm not God, you know what I mean? Like, I'm human and I make errors. So don't take what I say as the Bible.
So even like in the brainstorming and so on, they can push back.
Yeah, you can see it. Like Tyler, anytime I said something, he would give me feedback and pushback, which is what I want. I don't want him to just be like, yes, you're fucking genius, good job, Jimmy. You know, I don't need that, you know, I need negatives.
You talked about being in a relationship. What role, Jimmy, does love play in the human condition?
I think well, the big thing is love can be scary because this is, you know, the human year is the most amount of time in your life. You know, and so or project that over 50 years, they can be a liability or an asset. You know, no, but seriously, it's got to be someone that makes you better. For me, I can't truly love someone that doesn't make me better because in the